Chapter 362. Zhao Ritian's face was full of smiles, but his heart was bleeding. This was the most precious Dao artifact that he had obtained in the Longevity Secret Territory. Even the Sun-Moon Star sect did not have a powerful Dao artifact like the Emperor War Chariot. In the end, he gave it away to save his life. Moreover, no matter how much Zhao Ritian called out to the second master, that bastard was nowhere to be seen. He did not even reply to him. Zhao Ritian guessed that the second master might have been frightened by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao looked at Zhao Ritian with a faint smile on his face. Zhao Ritian's face froze for a moment before a smile appeared on his face. There was a tinge of anxiety in his eyes. If this fiend in front of him were to really make a move, even he, Zhao Ritian, would not be able to withstand it. "All right, I'll take it since you're so sincere. You can go now." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. A light flashed in his hand and the Emperor War Chariot was kept in his longevity ring. "Young Master Ling, I won't disturb you any longer." Zhao Ritian looked at the Emperor War Chariot with a pained expression. He turned around and ran, afraid that Ling Xiao would regret it. "Ling Xiao, what are you trying to do?" Finally, Ling Xiao's gaze landed on the Phoenix Lady. She was shocked and took 2 steps back. The young man in front of her looked handsome and had a bright smile. However, in the eyes of the Phoenix Lady, he was a demon. So many disciples of the Wanshou sect had died in his hands. "Do you hate me very much now?" Ling Xiao smiled and took a step closer to the Phoenix Lady. Phoenix Girl was slightly stunned, thinking about it carefully. Although Ling Xiao had killed countless Wanshou sect disciples, even He Qing, Black Tortoise, and Su Liangqing had died at his hands, Phoenix Girl did not hate Ling Xiao. While the Phoenix Lady was still in a daze, Ling Xiao had already approached her and sniffed her neck. Suddenly, the fragrance of a virgin filled the air. It was indescribably sweet. "Bastard, what are you doing?" The Phoenix Maiden's body stiffened, and her beautiful face immediately turned red. She looked at Ling Xiao with eyes full of shame and anger. Her figure was already very hot to begin with, and at this moment, under the undulation of her heart, her chest was surging like waves, and her white peaks were moving up and down, emitting endless temptation. Although the Phoenix Girl looked very flirtatious on the surface and liked to tease others, she was still very conservative on the inside. Now that she was startled by Ling Xiao's intimate actions, her mind was in a mess. "It really is the Dark Phoenix body." Ling Xiao nodded, a look of understanding in his eyes. His gaze was very clear, without any hint of filth. "Black Phoenix body? What's the Dark Phoenix constitution?" Phoenix Girl was stunned. She thought Ling Xiao was going to do something to her. She was even prepared to die rather than submit. In the end, Ling Xiao said something that confused her. Ling Xiao's gaze swept across Phoenix Girl's body. It was as if he could see through her body, causing her to feel uncomfortable. "Bastard, what are you trying to do? If you want to kill me, then kill me. If you want, then I'll castrate you." Phoenix Girl was about to go crazy from Ling Xiao's gaze, and she said angrily, "When you cultivate recently, do your perineum true qi become chaotic on full moon nights? Do you have spring water surging, and do you have erotic dreams?" Ling Xiao smiled faintly. "How did you know?" Phoenix Girl's body trembled, and her eyes revealed a look of disbelief. Ling Xiao was talking about a problem that had been troubling her. Recently, she had been tormented to the point of insanity. She was still a virgin, and she didn't even know what was wrong with her. Why would she have such thoughts and have such embarrassing dreams? Moreover, when you cultivate in the afternoon, the vermilion bird true qi in your Dantian sea of qi would boil and flow throughout your body. It would be as painful as being burned by a raging fire, and you would need to expend a lot of energy to suppress it. Recently, it's getting harder and harder to suppress it, right? Ling Xiao looked at Phoenix Girl and said, "Do you know how to read fortunes? I've never told anyone about these symptoms. How did you know?" Phoenix Girl was even more shocked, and her voice trembled. "The dignified body of the Dark Phoenix is cultivating the vermilion bird true technique. If it weren't for your strong bloodline, I'm afraid you would have gone mad and died in a raging fire." Ling Xiao said faintly, and his eyes were full of wisdom. Phoenix Girl trembled, and her eyes revealed a trace of shock. She said, "You're saying that I have the body of the Dark Phoenix? What kind of physique is the body of the Dark Phoenix? Why would my vermilion bird true technique have such symptoms?" Ling Zhao's words almost broke Phoenix Girl's understanding of martial arts. Moreover, it concerned her life. Suddenly, she couldn't care less about her hostile relationship with Ling Xiao, and hurriedly asked. In ancient times, the true dragon clan, the Phoenix clan, and other supreme mythical beasts were once the overlords of heaven and earth. They were extremely powerful. Within the Phoenix clan, everyone only knows about the fire phoenix, which is the vermilion bird. They also know about the blue swan and the swan. These are all powerful mythical beasts of the Phoenix clan. However, everyone doesn't know that the Phoenix clan has a mutated phoenix called the Dark Phoenix. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Dark Phoenix? Could it be that its feathers are black? Is there a difference? Phoenix Girl asked aloud. Of course there's a difference. The Dark Phoenix is a mutated phoenix. In addition to its black feathers, its body can produce black flames of destruction. Its combat strength is unparalleled. If the Fire Phoenix is an extreme yang mythical beast, then the Dark Phoenix is an extreme yin mythical beast. Do you understand? Ling Xiao said. Extreme yin mythical beast? Phoenix Girl's face instantly became incomparably ugly. The vermilion bird true technique was an extreme yang technique. If she really had the body of the Dark Phoenix, cultivating the vermilion bird true technique was simply courting death. It turned out that Ling Zhao's words were not exaggerated. If this continued, she would sooner or later suffer from qi deviation. You were able to persist until now because your Dark Phoenix body is too powerful. Its strength can suppress the vermilion bird true technique. However, now that the two have reached the point where they are like fire and water, when your vermilion bird true technique is improved, I'm afraid that the Dark Phoenix body will not be able to suppress it. At that time, Ling Xiao stopped and didn't continue speaking. However, Phoenix Girl understood that there was only one outcome, and that was qi deviation. Dark Phoenix body. If I really have the Dark Phoenix body, the sect leader will definitely tell me. Ling Xiao, don't think that you can fool me. Although Phoenix Girl was 80% convinced, she still felt that Ling Xiao was fooling her. You should know best whether I'm lying to you or not. The sect leader you're talking about is the Black Dragon King? He's just a noble realm cultivator. He doesn't have the ability to recognize the Dark Phoenix body. Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of arrogance. Chapter 363. You're bluffing. Phoenix Girl pouted. If the Black Dragon King didn't know, how could this young man know? Even if the Black Dragon King knew, he wouldn't tell you. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He looked at the Phoenix lady with sympathy in his eyes. Why wouldn't he tell me? Phoenix Girl was stunned. Do you know what happens when a black phoenix cultivates the vermilion bird true technique? It's fine if you go berserk, but your black phoenix body contains terrifying primordial yin energy. Although the Black Dragon King doesn't know that you have a black phoenix body, he knows the primordial yin energy in your body. It's fine if a black phoenix cultivates the vermilion bird true technique and goes berserk. But what's worse is that under the influence of the vermilion bird true technique, the primordial yin energy in your body will grow stronger and stronger. When your primordial yin energy reaches its peak, it'll be like a ripe fruit. Once it's plucked by someone, your cultivation will become nourishment for someone else. That feeling, is worse than death. Ling Xiao glanced at Phoenix Maiden. Phoenix Maiden's body was already trembling, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. Impossible, I don't believe it. You must be lying to me. The sect leader treats me like his own child. He wouldn't do this to me. Phoenix Girl's shoulders trembled and her face turned pale. Her eyes were filled with disbelief and sorrow. This was the feeling of countless years of faith suddenly collapsing. It felt as if her entire body was being torn apart and her primordial spirit was shattered. She was a walking corpse with no hope left. Ling Xiao couldn't bear to hurt her, but he still sighed softly. The Black Dragon King has been stuck at the 9th level of the noble realm for decades, right? Ling Zhao's words were the last straw that broke the camel's back. Phoenix Girl was stunned and her face was drained of blood. The Black Dragon King was the strongest person in the Wanshou sect. He was a peerless figure who could look down on the 8 Desolation region. However, before Phoenix Girl joined the Wanshou sect, he was already a 9th-level Noble Realm expert. After so many years, there were still no signs of a breakthrough. If what Ling Xiao said was true, then the Black Dragon King had already started planning this after Phoenix Girl joined the sect. Ling Xiao stood there and looked at Phoenix Maiden with a calm expression. After a long time, the Phoenix Maiden's expression slowly returned to normal. She looked at Ling Xiao charmingly and smiled. "Little brother, you only know how to scare Big Sister. Can you help Big Sister resolve the problem of the Dark Phoenix body?" Although Phoenix Maiden pretended to be calm, Ling Xiao could still see a trace of hidden coldness and anger in her eyes. "Of course I have a way. But why should I save you?" Ling Xiao smiled faintly, revealing a mouthful of white and beautiful teeth. "With such a beautiful woman in front of you, could it be that you really have the heart to watch Big Sister go crazy?" The Phoenix Maiden looked at Ling Xiao with resentment. Her large, soul-stealing eyes could almost steal a person's soul away. "It's very simple to get rid of your Dark Phoenix constitution. As long as you cultivate the Phoenix clan's supreme True Phoenix secret technique, not only will you be able to avoid the danger of chi deviation, but you will also be able to completely transform your Black Phoenix body. Even becoming a supreme being in the future is not impossible." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. "True Phoenix secret technique? Could it be that you have such a technique?" The Phoenix Maiden's face was full of disbelief. The Phoenix clan's supreme technique was at least a supreme martial art. She did not think that Ling Xiao would have such a technique. The True Phoenix secret technique is a god-tier technique that surpasses the supreme martial art. "Naturally, I don't have it." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. "Then what's the point of telling me this?" The Phoenix Maiden rolled her eyes. "I don't have it now, but I will have it soon. As long as you are willing to be my maid, I can pass this technique to you." Ling Xiao said slowly. Just like the ancestral dragon secret technique was the supreme technique of the True Dragon clan, the True Phoenix secret technique was also the supreme technique of the Phoenix clan. Coincidentally, the textless heavenly book had the True Phoenix secret technique. The True Phoenix secret technique was ranked second among the 72 Earth Fiend secret techniques, second only to the ancestral dragon secret technique. Ling Xiao had previously discovered that when the Phoenix Maiden used the Vermilion Bird True technique, it would attract the attention of the textless heavenly book. He guessed that the Vermilion Bird True technique might be a part of the True Phoenix secret technique. "Be your maid? Dream on." The Phoenix Maiden rolled her eyes and said. She was the heaven's pride of the Wanshou sect. Her talent was peerless and famous throughout the 8 Desolates region. Who had the qualifications to say that they would accept her as the Phoenix Maiden? Ling Xiao was simply a lunatic. Ling Xiao glanced at the Phoenix Maiden indifferently and said, "You are a heaven's pride and many people like you. But in my eyes, you are nothing. The 8 Desolates region is too small. Compared to the War God continent, the 8 Desolates region is like a small puddle. Although your talent is not bad, compared to the peerless heaven's pride of the War God continent, it is nothing. Be my maid and I will take you out of the 8 Desolates region, conquer the War God continent, and ascend to the supreme position. At that time, the Black Dragon King will be just an ant that can be destroyed with a flip of my hand. You only have one chance, think carefully." At this moment, the old goat appeared out of nowhere. The river diagram had been completely refined by the old goat and turned into a cloak that draped over the old goat's body. It looked very majestic. The old goat said lazily, "Little girl, it is your fortune to be this brat's maid. Do you know who his master is? The sky-devouring supreme of the Changshan sect. He was a peerless expert 10,000 years ago. He is also this emperor's brother. Think about it carefully. If you miss this opportunity, you will regret it for the rest of your life." Ling Xiao rolled his eyes. The old goat really had no control over his mouth, spilling everything out. What? The disciple of the sky-devouring supreme? This news caused the Phoenix Maiden to tremble. Her eyes were filled with incomparable shock. No wonder Ling Xiao's talent was so terrifying. In such a short period of time, He was like a shooting star that overshadowed all the peerless geniuses in the 8 Desolates region. Only a peerless expert like the sky-devouring Supreme could nurture such a monstrous disciple. Thinking of this, the Phoenix Maiden's gaze towards Ling Xiao changed. Think about it carefully. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and turned towards the depths of the Changshan secret territory. The Golden Wind Jade Dew Pond slowly sank into the ground. After a period of time, it would continue to condense the Golden Wind Jade Dew Pond. The old goat wore a red cape and swung his hooves, following behind Ling Xiao coquettishly. Continue to brag. The sky-devouring Supreme has already passed away. Why would he accept a disciple like you? I will expose your true face with my own hands. The Phoenix Maiden snorted coldly. She stomped her feet and chased after Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao sensed that the Phoenix Maiden was following him and a smile appeared on his face. It was not a waste of breath. Although this shrewish girl was stubborn, she was already convinced by Ling Xiao. It was only a matter of time before she would submit to him. The reason why Ling Xiao had wasted so much time was because the Black Phoenix physique was too strong. Even in the War God continent, a person with such a physique would be considered a peerless genius. As long as such a person appeared, the various holy lands would go crazy and fight over it. In the entire 8 Desolates region, only Shui Wei's 9 Nether bloodline could be compared to the Black Phoenix constitution. It was only a matter of time before she became a supreme. Chapter 364. Rumble. A dazzling divine light soared into the sky and exploded in the sky. It emitted millions of rays of light. The light of treasures pervaded the air and propitious vapors rose. It was as if the treasury of heaven and earth had been opened. It was extremely grand. The longevity treasury has opened. Everyone in the longevity secret territory was excited. Someone saw a huge treasury rising from the ground in the depths of the secret territory, emitting dazzling light. The treasury was filled with the essence of heaven and earth. Some people saw powerful divine arts, some saw divine pills that could bring the dead back to life, some saw peerless weapons that could destroy heaven and earth, and some saw mountains of spirit crystals and oceans of spirit liquid. There were also countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures. It seems like the longevity treasury is the place of inheritance left behind by the longevity sect. There might be the inheritance of the longevity supremacy and the sky-devouring supremacy. Some people were so excited that they were trembling and their eyes were shining. 10,000 years ago, the longevity sect was famous. The strongest of them were the longevity supremacy and the sky-devouring supremacy, both of whom were among the top 10 titled supremacies. The sky-devouring secret technique and the longevity supremacy scripture were the strongest martial arts in the world. If one could get the inheritance of the longevity supremacy and the sky-devouring supremacy, there was a high chance that one could reach the supremacy realm in the future. The supremacy could live for 10,000 years. This was a temptation that many people could not resist. Martial artists went against the heavens and comprehended the mysteries of heaven and earth. Among them, the most important temptation was longevity. Although Jizun hadn't reached the legendary realm of immortality, a lifespan of 10,000 years was enough to drive countless people crazy. The longevity treasury is in the east. Let's go. Let's go. This is the peerless inheritance of the longevity sect. We won't get anything if we're late. Countless martial artists went crazy and headed towards the depths of the secret territory. They were all fantasizing about obtaining powerful martial arts or divine weapons and shocking the world. Not good. There's a peerless killing formation in the longevity treasury. Those who enter the treasury will either kill each other or be devoured by some unknown existence. It's too scary. The Eternal Spring Sect's Eternal Spring Sage is dead. He cut himself 38 times and even his heart was crushed by him. At this moment, the cultivators who had entered the longevity sect earlier sent news. The longevity treasury not only contained countless treasures, but also unimaginable dangers. Sage Eternal Spring of the longevity sect was said to have lived for several hundred years and had long since reached the 9th level of the sky human stage. Yet he had died in the longevity treasury. Moreover, In such a short period of time, over 100 experts who had entered the longevity treasury had all died. Without exception, not even their corpses remained. Many of the cultivators who had been in a state of frenzy cleared their minds somewhat. Even so, they continued to charge into the longevity treasure hoard. However, they dared not enter the longevity treasure hoard. The longevity treasury? Ling Xiao, who was in the depths of the longevity secret territory, also heard the news. His eyes were filled with doubt. As far as he knew, although the longevity secret territory was a training ground for the longevity sect's disciples, there was no longevity treasury built inside. Could it be that Jin Sei built this treasury to preserve the legacy of the Changshan sect when the otherworldly demons invaded? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a glint. The longevity treasury? Ling Xiao, let's go quickly. There might be treasures that can heal Dao injuries inside. When my Dao injuries are fully healed and I become a supreme again, I'll help you slaughter the Wanshou sect. After hearing about the longevity treasury, the old goat's eyes lit up and he began to urge Ling Xiao to hurry. You're just bragging. What supreme? You can't even defeat a noble realm expert. I heard that the longevity treasury is filled with dangers. Countless experts have died inside. You're just going to die if you go in like this. The Phoenix Lady, who had been following behind Ling Xiao without saying a word, finally found an opportunity to mock the old goat. The old goat was not angry. He chuckled and said, "Little girl, when I shocked the world, your ancestors weren't even born yet. What's a mere killing formation to me? Just wait and see how I break that killing formation and take away all the treasures in the treasury. We can't be sure if it's the longevity treasury. Let's go take a look." Ling Xiao's eyes lit up and he leaped in the direction of the longevity treasury. The longevity treasury was located in a huge valley. The valley was filled with mist and auspicious air. It looked very peaceful. The ancient trees in the valley towered into the sky and the spiritual qi was like water. With a casual breath, spiritual qi would surge into one's body. In the valley, a huge treasury floated in the void. There were 4 golden words on it. The longevity treasury. The treasury was filled with resplendent light as countless precious heavenly treasures floated within. There were powerful divine weapons, precious pills with rich medicinal fragrance, and ancient books that emitted mysterious fluctuations. There were mountains of spirit crystals and rivers of spirit liquid that flowed slowly, causing people to be dazzled and bewildered. Countless experts had gathered in the valley, but no one dared to take a step forward. That was because all the experts who had entered the longevity treasury had died. When Ling Xiao arrived at the valley, he saw countless experts loitering around the longevity treasury. Every one of them had looks of greed on their faces. It's Ling Xiao? Why is the Phoenix Lady of the Wanshou sect with him? How strange. The divine brilliance crown prince of the great Hong ancient kingdom stood on top of a mountain peak. His eyes flashed as he looked at Ling Xiao with a trace of doubt. Beside him was a man who looked like a demon god. He wore a black demonic armor and held a halberd in his hand. His aura was wild and his eyes were cold. It was the young master of the Great Destruction sect, Mo Kong. Ling Xiao? Interesting. Mo Kong also indifferently glanced at Ling Xiao as a trace of cruelty appeared at the corner of his mouth. When the divine brilliance crown prince saw this, he knew that Mo Kong was angry. Who in the 8 Desolates region didn't know that Mo Kong liked the Phoenix Lady? Even the sect master of the Great Destruction sect, the Great Destruction King, had proposed marriage to the Wanshou sect for Mo Kong. However, Mo Kong still treated the Phoenix Lady as his exclusive property and no one dared to have any ideas about her. Just the fact that the Phoenix Lady and Ling Xiao were together was enough to kill Ling Xiao countless times. At the Golden Wind Jade Dew Pond, Ling Xiao had used the ancient battle spirit to kill countless experts. At that time, only Zhao Ritian and the Phoenix Lady had survived. Everyone else had been slaughtered. Therefore, no one knew how terrifying Ling Xiao was. Otherwise, Mo Kong would have to reconsider himself. Although he was strong, he was still much weaker than Su Liangqing, a half-step noble realm expert. Chapter 365. Lord Tianyan is here. Is he preparing to enter the longevity treasury to break the formation? At that moment, a figure with a mysterious aura appeared in the longevity treasury, attracting everyone's attention. It was an elder in a yin-yang Taoist robe. He was hale and hearty, with white hair and a faint smile on his face. His eyes shone brightly as they fell on the longevity treasury. "Greetings, Lord Tianyan. Can you break this killing formation?" "Greetings, Lord Ting." Many people walked up to greet the old man. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. Tianyan King was an individual cultivator. Although he was only half a step away from the noble realm, he was very accomplished in the art of matrices. It was said that he had once set up a super matrix and trapped a noble realm cultivator for 3 days and 3 nights. Lord Tianyan was even called the #1 formation grandmaster in the 8 Desolation region. The killing formation in the longevity treasury looked terrifying, but Lord Tianyan's arrival gave people hope. "Ling Xiao, Lord Tianyan is here. It seems that the killing formation in the longevity treasury is about to be broken." The Phoenix Maiden's eyes were also filled with anticipation. "Lord Tianyan? I'm afraid he doesn't have the ability to break the formation." Ling Xiao smiled faintly, his eyes shining brightly. For some reason, although this valley seemed to be steaming with auspicious air and auspicious aura, it gave Ling Xiao a very strange feeling. Moreover, there was a cold sense of danger everywhere. Relatively speaking, the danger in the longevity treasury was the least. Ling Xiao felt that it was very strange, but when he probed with the power of his primordial spirit, he did not find anything wrong. "Fellow cultivators, I can only try my best since you think so highly of me." Lord Tianyan chuckled and walked slowly toward the longevity treasury. A mysterious aura spread around him, as if he had become one with the surrounding heaven and earth. "This old man will die for sure," the old goat suddenly said with a solemn look in his eyes. "Old goat, do you see anything?" Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked. "This isn't the longevity treasury at all. It's a trap." What a cunning fellow. Even this emperor was almost fooled. The old goat's eyes were sparkling with a mysterious light beam that seemed to be able to destroy the void. "A trap?" Ling Xiao's expression changed, and his expression turned serious. He had just condensed his martial Dao primordial spirit and did not have enough means to investigate. However, the old goat was different. In his previous life, Ling Xiao's formation skills were taught by the old goat. In terms of formation skills, the old goat was on par with Ling Xiao. If even the old goat could see that something was wrong, it meant that this place was indeed extremely dangerous. "I can't say. I can feel that this is a trap, but I can't detect it. It can only mean that this fellow is too terrifying. He can even deceive this emperor. Kid, let's go quickly. Otherwise, we won't be able to leave in a while." The old goat's eyes were filled with seriousness as he spoke to Ling Xiao. "What trap? You're just trying to scare me. I think King Tianyan will be able to break the formation in a while." Phoenix Girl curled her lips. The old goat looked at Phoenix Girl with disdain. He looked at her from head to toe until she felt uncomfortable. Then he spat out 4 words. "Big-chested but brainless." Phoenix Girl was instantly enraged. She pointed at the old goat and said with a trembling voice, "Old goat, who are you calling brainless?" The old goat said leisurely, "I'm talking about the one with the biggest chest. I'm going to kill you." Phoenix Girl was so angry that she trembled all over. She was about to charge at the old goat. "Stop fooling around. King Tianyan is really going to die." Ling Xiao grabbed Phoenix Girl's hand and looked in King Tianyan's direction. His eyes revealed a trace of sharpness. Rumble. At this moment, King Tianyan had already entered the longevity treasury. His yin-yang Taoist robe emitted a mysterious light as if a Taiji Dao diagram had appeared behind him. It looked very mysterious. Step by step, he walked into the longevity treasury. Ripples spread out from the surrounding void. In front of Tianyan was an ancient mirror that emitted an incomparably resplendent light. King Tianyan really went in. I knew that the old man would definitely be able to break the array. Since King Tianyan has gone in, let's go in too. Let's go. Immediately, tens of cultivators were unable to stop themselves. Faces filled with excitement, they charged into the longevity treasure vault. A bunch of idiots. The old goat said leisurely. Phoenix Girl raised her eyebrows and wanted to mock him. For some reason, she did not like the old goat at all. That displeasure seemed to come from the depths of her bloodline. Rumble. However, the unforeseen event in the longevity treasury caused Phoenix Girl's expression to change drastically. King Tianyan, who was about to touch the ancient mirror, suddenly turned his head. His eyes were bloodshot and filled with madness. He grabbed the nearest warrior and a terrifying power erupted from his body. Rumble. That warrior's eyes were filled with disbelief. He let out a miserable cry and was instantly torn to pieces by King Tianyan. Bloody mist filled the air and dyed King Tianyan's robe red. It made him look extremely ferocious. Murderous intent filled his body as he charged toward the warriors in the longevity treasury. Senior King Tianyan, what are you doing? Stop. I'm your disciple. King Tianyan, are you crazy? Inside the longevity treasury, the cultivators all had panicked looks in their eyes as they shouted one after another. However, King Tianyan ignored them. How terrifying would it be when a half-step noble realm expert unleashed his full power? In almost an instant, countless miserable cries were heard. Dozens of warriors were all killed by King Tianyan. The wretched cries and the horrifying scene caused the faces of the cultivators outside the longevity treasury to sink sharply. Incomparable looks of dread appeared on their faces. Could it be that there's a ghost in the longevity treasury? King Tianyan has been possessed by a ghost. There really is a ghost. Look at King Tianyan. At that moment, everyone saw King Tianyan in the longevity treasury. His face was filled with a strange expression. His gaze was very strange as he muttered something. No one knew what he was saying. Suddenly, a sharp dagger appeared in King Tianyan's hand. He slashed at his own arm. Blood spurted out. Tianyan Wang's arm was directly chopped off by him, followed by his legs. Tianyan Wang's 5 viscera and 6 bowels were all cut open by him. The scene was extremely terrifying. Crunch, crunch. King Tianyan grabbed his arms and legs and began to chew. He even ate his organs. Chapter 366. There was a deathly silence. Everyone was stunned. Their eyes were filled with horror and disbelief. The longevity treasury seemed to have turned into a land that devoured living beings. Everyone's scalps began to tingle. At this moment, the wordless heavenly book in Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness buzzed. A mysterious fluctuation spread out, and Ling Zhao's eyes instantly became clear. It's actually him? Ling Zhao's body trembled. The scene in his eyes had completely changed. In the eyes of others, Tianyan had personally killed those warriors and chopped off his own limbs to chew on him. In Ling Zhao's eyes, the longevity treasury was covered in a layer of black light. Countless mysterious roots stretched out from the ground and pierced through Tianyan, devouring his flesh and blood. Tianyan was crying for help. His eyes were filled with pain, but no one could hear him. The illusory demonic ancient tree. I didn't expect the illusory demonic ancient tree to really exist in this world. Ling Xiao screamed in his heart. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. However, he hid his expression well and didn't reveal the slightest flaw. He finally understood why even the old goat couldn't see through the longevity treasury. This wasn't the longevity treasury at all. It was an illusion created by the illusory demonic ancient tree. Ling Xiao had seen the illusory demonic ancient tree in ancient books. It was said that the illusory demonic ancient tree had appeared 1,000,000 years ago. This kind of ancient tree was extremely terrifying. It could create an extremely powerful illusion that could pull people into it and make them kill each other. Moreover, the ancient tree would devour their flesh, blood, and soul. The ancient books had recorded that an illusory demonic ancient tree had appeared 1,000,000 years ago. It was 1,000,000 miles tall and almost all the living beings on the War God continent were trapped in an illusion. It killed hundreds of millions and created an endless amount of blood. If the War God hadn't appeared at that time and used his terrifying combat strength to destroy the illusory demonic ancient tree, the entire War God continent would have become a land of death. Is the illusory demonic ancient tree related to the extraterrestrial demons? Thoughts raced through Ling Zhao's mind. He could sense a mysterious aura spreading out from void space. It was capable of silently seeping into everyone's souls, causing them to fall into an illusion. They all believed that they were looking at the longevity treasury. There was no illusory demonic ancient tree in the longevity secret realm 10,000 years ago. The only possibility was that it had something to do with the extraterrestrial demons. In Ling Zhao's eyes, the so-called longevity treasury was actually a black flower that exuded a boundless evil aura. And around the flower, countless roots shot out, piercing through Tianyan and the surrounding warriors, beginning to devour their flesh and souls. What shocked Ling Zhao the most was that black demonic flowers began to bloom in the valley, and their roots began to extend toward the crowd. At this time, all the passageways in the valley were sealed. Even if they wanted to go out, they couldn't. What should we do? Ling Zhao's mind spun rapidly. Although the blooming speed of the devil flowers was very slow, there was no guarantee that if Ling Zhao did anything, he would instantly enrage them. That stone palace? Is there a way to resolve it? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He whispered to the old goat and phoenix lady, "Don't speak. Keep calm. It's enough to know that our current situation is very dangerous. Follow me slowly." The old goat and phoenix lady's eyes flashed. Although they were very confused, they still followed Ling Zhao quietly. Beside the longevity treasury was a very ancient-looking stone temple. It was covered in dust, but Ling Zhao could sense a mysterious aura coming from the stone temple. If the illusory demonic ancient tree is related to the extraterrestrial demons, it should have been sealed 10,000 years ago. Perhaps this stone palace is the place of the seal. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he led the old goat and phoenix lady into the palace. The palace looked very spacious. There was only a mysterious array on the ground, and a mysterious seal was carved in the position of the Big Dipper. 7-star chaotic heaven array? He really did escape from the sealing formation. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed coldly. He saw that one of the stars in the seal had exploded. Only 6 stars were rotating, and there was an extremely evil aura coming from below. The 7-star chaotic heaven grand array was a grand array created by supreme being experts to draw upon the divine power of the Big Dipper to suppress powerful demonic creatures. Ling Zhao could see that the astral energy within the 7-star chaotic heaven grand array was already very thin. The black demonic aura below was surging and constantly attacking the array, as if it would break out at any time. Buzz. Ling Zhao slapped the old goat and phoenix lady. The wordless heavenly book's mysterious waves spread and pulled them out of the illusion. Ling Zhao then told them what he knew. What? It's the illusory demonic ancient tree? No wonder even I couldn't see through it. It's this kind of thing. The old goat was shocked. Obviously, he had heard of the illusory demonic ancient tree and knew how terrifying it was. Ling Zhao, the heart of the illusory demonic ancient tree, is good stuff. Not only can it increase mental strength, but it can also heal Dao injuries. Why don't we kill this illusory demonic ancient tree and take out its heart? The old goat was only shocked for a moment before his eyes began to shine. He shook his head and wagged his tail as he walked up to Ling Zhao and sent him a message with a grin. The heart of the illusory demonic ancient tree has such a magical effect? Why didn't I know about it? Ling Zhao was stunned and a trace of suspicion appeared in his eyes. Old goat, are you trying to trick me? Let me tell you, although this illusory demonic ancient tree is only a seedling, it's not something we can touch. Do you really want to die? The old goat looked at Ling Zhao with disdain and said, "You're the disciple of the devouring Sky Supreme. Are you afraid of a tree? Let me tell you, others may not be able to deal with the illusory demonic ancient tree, but it's definitely not our match. The devouring sky secret skill is the illusory demonic ancient tree's nemesis. When I release the illusory demonic ancient tree, as long as you can resist the illusion released by it for a moment, I'll be able to suck it dry." Devour the illusory demonic ancient tree? Ling Zhao was shocked by the old goat's idea. This old bastard really doesn't want to live anymore. Although Ling Zhao guessed that the illusory demonic ancient tree in the 7-star Chaos Heaven Grand Array was only a seedling and couldn't even be considered to be in its growth period, who knew what would be released? If it was in its growth period, then even a monarch realm expert would die without a doubt, let alone Ling Xiao and the old goat. However, Ling Xiao was slightly tempted. If he could really devour the illusory demonic ancient tree, then the rewards would be absolutely shocking. Great risks were often accompanied by great rewards. Chapter 367. The illusory demon ancient tree's greatest strength was its ability to create illusions. Its own strength was not very strong. In its infancy, the illusory demon ancient tree was equivalent to a celestial realm expert. However, even a noble realm expert could not break free from the illusions it created. Once the illusory demon ancient tree entered its growth period, the illusions it created could even kill a monarch realm expert. As for a mature illusory demon ancient tree, even a supreme being would definitely die. The illusions that filled the world and caused endless slaughter had only appeared 1,000,000 years ago. Although Ling Xiao guessed that the illusory demon ancient tree was in its infancy, he could not be sure. If it really was a growing illusory demon ancient tree, then it would be very troublesome. At this moment, black demonic flowers were everywhere in the valley. They emitted a strong aura, causing people to be immersed in the illusions created by the illusory demon ancient tree and unable to break free. Boom! The illusory demon ancient tree in the 7 stars turbid heaven formation seemed to have swallowed enough flesh and blood and began to boil. Endless demonic chi invaded the 7 stars turbid heaven formation. The demonic chi was dark and evil. It contained an aura that made people feel disgusted and afraid from the depths of their souls. Boom! The 7 stars turbid heaven formation began to tremble violently. The star power contained in it was extremely thin to begin with. At this moment, another star exploded. Oh no! The illusory demon ancient tree has swallowed the flesh and blood of warriors and is beginning to evolve into its growth period. Ling Xiao's expression changed. He no longer cared about the old goat's crazy idea. The most important thing now was to seal the illusory demon ancient tree. Powerful innate gang qi spread out from Ling Xiao's body. He formed a seal with his hands and stepped forward. The stars in the sky seemed to light up. Dazzling light began to fall and faintly intertwined with the 7 stars turbid heaven formation below. With Ling Xiao's current cultivation, although he was unable to set up the 7 stars turbid heaven formation, he could draw on the divine power of the Big Dipper to temporarily strengthen the formation. Little girl, let's protect Ling Xiao. This illusory demon ancient tree is very strange. Who knows what kind of trouble it will cause? The old goat solemnly looked at the Phoenix Maiden. The Phoenix Maiden subconsciously wanted to refuse, but after seeing the look in the old goat's eyes, she nodded and said, "Don't worry, Ling Xiao hasn't imparted the true Phoenix mystic technique to me yet. Whoever dares to touch him is going against me." Rumble. As if it sensed that Ling Xiao wanted to reinforce the formation, the illusory demonic tree below became enraged. Monstrous demonic chi surged out, surging towards Ling Xiao through the illusory demonic tree. At the same time, the strange presence that could pull people into illusions enveloped Ling Xiao, the old goat, and the Phoenix Maiden. However, with the aura of the wordless heavenly book, the illusions created by the illusory fiend ancient tree could not do anything to Ling Xiao and the other two. The monstrous demonic chi was dark and evil. It turned into a huge demonic face and pounced towards Ling Xiao. As expected, it has something to do with the extraterrestrial demons. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. The black demonic chi was exactly the same as the strange black fog in the extraterrestrial demon's body. The wordless heavenly book shone, and the demonic chi that rushed over was immediately refined. Boom! No matter how the illusory demonic ancient tree stirred up trouble and raged, its 2 major methods had no effect on Ling Xiao. On the contrary, the power of the stars in the sky became more and more resplendent, strengthening the 7 stars turbid heaven array below. Rumble. At this moment, the demonic flowers in the valley began to tremble violently. The demonic flowers were the flowers of the illusory fiend ancient tree, and they contained an incomparably majestic illusory power. All of a sudden, they all exploded. Countless black fog surged. It was invisible and formless, and it silently integrated into the bodies of the warriors. Everyone's eyes flickered with a trace of black light, and their gazes instantly fell on Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao, what are you doing? Stop it. Everyone cried out in surprise, looking at Ling Xiao with eyes full of greed and anger. Everyone watched as Ling Xiao stood within the longevity treasure vault. Surprisingly, he did not appear affected in the slightest. One by one, Ling Xiao kept the surrounding worldly treasures, spiritual pills and formidable divine weapons into his storage-type magic treasure. Ling Xiao, the treasures in the longevity's treasury belong to everyone. If you don't want to die, hurry up and hand them over. The divine reflection crown prince looked at Ling Xiao coldly. Everyone was extremely shocked. Even Tian Yen King had died in the longevity's treasury. How could Ling Xiao enter the longevity's treasury unscathed? The precious treasures made everyone's eyes widen. The divine reflection crown prince is right. Ling Xiao, hurry up and hand over the treasures. Ling Xiao, do you want to be enemies with so many of us? Brothers, why waste time talking to him? Let's just kill him and the treasures in the longevity's treasury will be ours. Everyone surrounded Ling Xiao, their eyes filled with greed and murderous intent. Oh no, it's that damned illusory fiend Ancient Tree's doing. The old goat's eyes flashed, and his eyes were filled with anger. Ling Xiao wanted to reseal the illusory fiend Ancient Tree, which naturally caused the illusory fiend Ancient Tree to resist. It pulled everyone into the illusion, creating the illusion that Ling Xiao wanted to take the longevity's treasury for himself. Most importantly, everyone believed it to be true. Everyone calm down. What you're seeing is not real. There's an illusory fiend Ancient Tree in this valley that can create illusions. Everyone saw that the longevity's treasury was created by the illusory fiend Ancient Tree. Its purpose is to make everyone kill each other. Phoenix Maiden shouted at the crowd. Her eyes were filled with anxiety. Currently, Ling Xiao was reinforcing the 7 stars turbid heaven array and could not spare any time. At this moment, if everyone was caught in the illusion and charged forward recklessly, they would really be in danger. Illusory fiend Ancient Tree? Phoenix Maiden, this joke is not funny at all. Could it be that all of us here have been confused by the illusion? Get out of the way. I only want to kill Ling Xiao. It has nothing to do with you. Mo Kong stood out. His eyes were cold and filled with icy killing intent. His voice revealed a kind of decisiveness. He was very angry. Phoenix Maiden had actually made up a lie about the illusory fiend Ancient Tree for Ling Xiao. Mo Kong did not believe that the so-called illusory fiend Ancient Tree could trap so many people and create an impeccable illusion. Little girl, there's no need to explain to them. They're a group of frogs at the bottom of a well. How could they know about the existence of the illusory fiend Ancient Tree? This emperor wants to see who dares to take a step forward. One who comes, this emperor will kill one. The old goat's eyes revealed a trace of coldness as he said arrogantly. In the end, after hearing the old goat's words, everyone surrounded the old goat, Ling Xiao, and Phoenix Maiden. Their eyes were filled with greed. At this moment, Ling Xiao, who was reinforcing the 7 stars turbid heaven array, also revealed a trace of cold light in his eyes. Wasn't reinforcing the 7 stars turbid heaven array to save their lives? If the illusory fiend Ancient Tree really broke free, everyone here would die. Chapter 368. Mo Kong, you bastard! If you want to kill Ling Xiao, you'll have to do it over my dead body. Phoenix Girl said angrily. She exuded a powerful aura as flames rose from her body. Mo Kong's eyes darkened as he looked at Ling Xiao with murderous intent. Phoenix Girl, since you want to protect this brat, I'll kill him first. Boom! The heavenly halberd in Mo Kong's hand exuded a murderous aura. Demonic light filled the air as it rose into the air and slashed down at Ling Xiao. Mo Kong's heart was burning with anger. The more Phoenix Girl wanted to protect Ling Xiao, the more Mo Kong's murderous intent was stimulated. Mo Kong, you dare? The flames on Phoenix Girl's body rose as a cold light flashed in her eyes. Suddenly, a red ancient sword appeared in her hand. It looked gorgeous and had mysterious patterns flowing on it. The ancient sword flew towards the heavenly halberd as if a vermilion bird had risen into the air, emitting a blazing light. Vermilion bird true technique? Phoenix girl, you're attacking me for a pretty boy? He'll definitely die today. Mo Kong laughed in anger. Phoenix girl had used the full power of the vermilion bird true technique for Ling Xiao, which made him jealous and angry. Bang! The heavenly halberd and the red ancient sword collided in the air as a bright light exploded. Mo Kong was like a demon god as he rose into the air. Demonic chi surged from his body and he looked very wild. He wanted to go around Phoenix Girl and attack Ling Xiao, but he was blocked by Phoenix Girl every time. The battle between the two became more and more intense. If we kill Ling Xiao, the longevity treasury will be ours. Everyone couldn't help but charge at Ling Xiao with red eyes. Although most of the people in this group were in the Grandmaster realm, there were also more than a dozen in the Celestial realm. One of the elders in particular looked sinister and his eyes were like poisonous snakes. He was actually half a step away from the noble plane. He was an elder of the Terminator demon sect who was supposed to protect Mo Kong. Now that he saw that the longevity treasury had fallen into Ling Xiao's hands, he also attacked Ling Xiao. A bunch of shameless people. This emperor wants to see what kind of ability you have. The old mountain goat was infuriated. Seeing everyone rushing towards it and Ling Xiao, it roared and opened its mouth to spit out a ball of bright light. Boom! It was as if a huge golden cauldron had appeared in the void. Hundreds of millions of sword rays shot out from it and fell on the crowd. The sword chi was unparalleled, piercing through everything. Those grandmasters didn't even have the chance to make a sound before the sword chi pierced through their foreheads and killed them. As for the celestial realm cultivators, they all had protective treasures, so they were not afraid of the old goat's group attack. They all blocked the sword light and charged at Ling Xiao. Scram! The old goat's blood energy was torrential. It stomped forward with its hooves as if a gigantic mountain was descending from the sky. It contained a peerless divine force. Suddenly, a few people's arms were broken by the old goat's kick, and they turned into a bloody mist. They screamed and flew backward. However, the old goat's ferocity did not frighten the crowd. Instead, more and more experts rushed towards Ling Xiao and the old goat. After all, the old goat's Dao injury had not fully recovered. Under the siege of so many people, it still had to pay attention to Ling Xiao behind it. It was now at a disadvantage. Boom! There were several tall and sturdy men dressed in black, holding black war blades. Their gazes were incomparably cold. They were all celestial tier experts. Black demonic chi flowed between them, faintly forming a mysterious battle array. The old goat was instantly trapped by them. The sinister-looking half-noble realm cultivator freed himself and slapped towards Ling Xiao. The slap contained an aura of destruction and was extremely fast. At this moment, Ling Xiao was shrouded in astral energy and was trying his best to operate the 7 stars turbid heaven array. How could he dodge this slap? Boom! The elder's slap shattered the endless starlight and landed directly on Ling Xiao's back. A monstrous demonic chi of destruction surged into Ling Xiao's body. Although Ling Xiao's physical strength was extremely strong, even comparable to that of an ancient ferocious beast, it was still difficult for him to withstand the attack of a half-noble realm cultivator. His face instantly became extremely pale. He spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out of the 7 stars turbid heaven array. Ling Xiao. The Phoenix Girl's expression changed, and her eyes were filled with worry. Phoenix Girl, Ling Xiao is dead. No one can save him. Elder Lu, kill Ling Xiao. Mo Kong's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he shouted at the elder in the distance. His voice was bone-chilling. Young master, don't worry. Ling Xiao is dead for sure. Elder Lu smiled coldly, and his eyes were filled with cruelty. After being hit by his slap, no matter how talented Ling Xiao was, he was severely injured and on the verge of death. As long as Elder Lu gave him another slap, Ling Xiao would be dead. Cough, cough. Ling Xiao slowly stood up, feeling as if his internal organs were about to shatter. His heart was filled with a bitter smile. He had finally wanted to be a hero for once, wanting to seal the great 7 stars turbid heaven array to save everyone's lives. In the end, he had been interrupted. It was not easy to be a hero. In that case, there was no need to seal the illusory demonic ancient tree. Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. He looked at Elder Lu in the distance and said, "Very well. Since you don't believe in the existence of the illusory demonic ancient tree, there is no need for me to seal it. Come out, illusory demonic ancient tree." Ling Zhao's expression was cold. Congenital gang qi erupted from his body as he punched the 7 stars turbid heaven array below. Elder Lu's expression changed as a bad premonition arose in his heart. He hurriedly shouted, "Ling Xiao, what are you trying to do?" "Stop. It's too late." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. The trace of blood at the corner of his mouth seemed to be filled with mockery. Boom! The 7 stars turbid heaven array was instantly shattered by Ling Zhao's punch. A dark and evil aura soared into the sky, and the earth began to tremble violently. The sky shook, the mountains trembled, and the earth cracked open. Strange demon qi filled the air, and countless vines rushed out from the cracks, emitting a ferocious evil qi. They pierced through the air towards everyone. The illusory demonic ancient tree was born. It was as if the birth of the illusory demonic ancient tree had caused the laws of heaven and earth to become chaotic. The illusion created by the illusory demonic ancient tree was instantly shattered. Everyone shuddered. The longevity treasury was no longer in front of them. There was only endless demon qi gushing out from the ground. Countless vines were like pythons, evil and cold as they rushed towards everyone. The longevity treasure vault is not real? Ling Xiao was right. Have we really fallen into an illusion? Everyone immediately understood what was going on, and their faces instantly turned ugly. At that moment, more than 10 warriors were caught off guard and their bodies were pierced by the vines. They screamed and lost their lives. Chapter 369. What? Mo Kong, the Divine Radiance Crown Prince, and the others' expressions instantly turned ugly. At this moment, there was no longer any longevity treasury in front of them. Black vines were everywhere. They were like poisonous snakes that stretched out from the ground, emitting a cold and evil aura. Black demonic aura surged in all directions as a bottomless demonic hole appeared on the ground. The vines came from the demonic hole, containing unparalleled power. Not only the experts of the Grandmaster realm, but even the experts of the celestial realm were caught off guard. They were pierced through by the vines and began to shrivel at a speed visible to the naked eye. Accompanied by miserable howls, their flesh and soul were all devoured by the vines. Ling Xiao, you deserve to die. Mo Kong's eyes were filled with rage and killing intent. He had already realized that Ling Xiao had broken the array that sealed the illusory demonic ancient tree, causing it to erupt completely. The vines that appeared now were most likely just branches of the illusory demonic ancient tree. The illusory demonic ancient tree's body had not yet appeared, and it was already so terrifying. If the real illusory demonic ancient tree appeared, what kind of scene would it be? A bunch of lowly people. I told you before that this was an illusion created by the illusory demonic ancient tree. You didn't believe me, and now you're blaming us? The old goat's eyes were filled with disdain as he spoke coldly. Ling Xiao, you're dead. My great flood ancient kingdom and the Terminator demon sect will send out a 10,000-mile kill order. No one can save you. Just wait for your death. The Divine Radiance Crown Prince's eyes were also filled with shock and anger. The battle blade in his hand was unparalleled, but it could only leave a small cut on the vines. It was simply impossible to cut them apart. On the contrary, the vines were increasing in number, causing the Divine Radiance Crown Prince and the old servant behind him to be suppressed. The space around them was getting smaller and smaller. His heart was filled with incomparable fear, and his hatred for Ling Xiao had reached the extreme. All of this was caused by Ling Xiao. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao, how could the illusory demonic ancient tree have escaped? However, he had never thought that if they hadn't been forced to attack Ling Xiao after being tempted by the illusory demonic ancient tree, Ling Xiao would probably have sealed the illusory demonic ancient tree again. Screams of agony rang out one after another. After blocking for a moment, the cultivators were pierced through and exploded in the void, turning into a bloody mist that was devoured by the strange vines. Demonic chi billowed in all directions, and the chilly wind howled angrily. It was as if the place had turned into an Azura hell. That's not right. Why isn't the phantom fiend ancient tree attacking Ling Xiao? Someone cried out in surprise. They saw Ling Xiao, the old goat, and Phoenix Girl standing together. The towering vines seemed to have purposely avoided the three of them and attacked everyone. Bastards! They must have some kind of treasure that can resist the illusion fiend ancient tree. Kill them. The killing intent in Mo Kong's eyes burned fiercely. He leaped forward, and the halberd in his hand contained an unparalleled sharpness. He destroyed the dozen vines in front of him and led the experts of the Terminator Demon sect to attack Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao, hand over the treasures on you. Otherwise, even if we die, we'll drag you down with us. The God Shine Crown Prince roared as well. He blocked the vines as he charged towards Ling Xiao. I've never seen such a stupid person. You're about to die and you still dare to covet the treasures? Kid, what should we do? The old goat sneered and glanced at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and a hint of madness flashed in his eyes. Old goat, didn't you say we're going to do something big? Then let's go crazy for once and devour this illusion fiend ancient tree. Good kid, I knew you were going to do something big. The old goat was overjoyed and beamed with joy. Devour the illusion fiend ancient tree? Are you crazy? If you want to die, go ahead. I'm not going to play with you. Phoenix Girl shrieked, her eyes filled with disbelief. She looked at Ling Xiao and the old goat as if she was looking at a pair of lunatics. These two guys really didn't want to live anymore. They actually wanted the illusion fiend ancient tree. If you stay outside, you'll definitely die. Don't worry, I won't die. Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't let Phoenix Girl leave. He chuckled and hugged Phoenix Girl without any explanation. The Phoenix Girl's skin was as smooth as silk, and her entire body emitted a delicate fragrance. Her slender thighs and perky breasts were pressed tightly against Ling Xiao's chest, emitting a temptation that made one's blood boil. Phoenix Girl's body stiffened. She could smell the masculine aura from Ling Xiao's body, and her body couldn't help but soften. However, she immediately shrieked, Ling Xiao, you bastard, let me go. Boom. Phoenix Girl's body burned with flames as she tried to escape from Ling Xiao's embrace. However, how terrifying was Ling Xiao's physical strength? His arm was like an iron clamp as he hugged Phoenix Girl tightly in his embrace. His other hand slapped her but hard. Listen to me, don't mess around. Phoenix Girl's face instantly turned red. She gritted her teeth and glared at Ling Xiao. I'll bite you to death. After saying that, she leaned on Ling Xiao's shoulder and bit down hard. A heart-wrenching pain assaulted Ling Xiao, and he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This girl's silver teeth were really powerful. However, when Mo Kong saw Ling Xiao and Phoenix Maiden's actions, he was instantly enraged. He roared, Ling Xiao, you despicable and shameless fellow. Let go of my woman. Phoenix Girl's face stiffened. She immediately said to Mo Kong in embarrassment and anger, Mo Kong, watch your mouth. I have nothing to do with you. Rumble. Mo Kong's heavenly halberd contained a violent killing intent. It was overflowing with sharpness as if it could destroy the void. It slashed down towards Ling Xiao. Mo Kong, enjoy yourself. I'm not going to play with you anymore. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and leaped up. He rode on the old goat and jumped into the demonic hole that was spewing out black light. What? Is this brat courting death? Mo Kong and the Divine Radiance Crown Prince's eyes were filled with disbelief as they involuntarily cried out. They couldn't understand Ling Xiao's actions. The demonic hole spewed out black demonic chi, and the body of the illusion demonic ancient tree must be inside. Ling Xiao jumping in like this was tantamount to suicide. Don't worry about that. Let's kill our way out. The vines covered the sky and enveloped the two of them. Mo Kong and the Crown Prince's expressions changed. They didn't have time to think too much as they rushed out to kill their way out. Rumble. Demonic light surged as a large number of experts fell. Their blood dyed the sky red, and they turned into nutrients for the illusion demonic ancient tree. Mo Kong, the crown prince, and the others fought with all their might. In the end, Elder Lu, who was half a step away from the noble plane, burned all of his essence blood and exploded with unparalleled noble plane divine power. Only then did he manage to escape with Mo Kong and the crown prince. Chapter 370. Demonic chi billowed and the creepy vines grew in number, spreading in all directions. However, there was a group of experts in black robes in the midst of the demonic chi. They exuded a cold aura and their eyes were cold. The leader was the black-robed youth from the underworld sect. His eyes were demonic and he was surrounded by a black light. The creepy vines seemed to avoid them after being illuminated by the light. Master Wudao, the seal of the illusory demonic ancient tree has been broken. Our mission is complete. Next, we will fight for the treasure land at the core of the mystery land of longevity. There was an old man behind the black-robe youth. His voice was old and hoarse. The seal of the illusory demonic ancient tree has been broken. However, I can't see through Ling Xiao. Since he dared to enter the demonic cave, he's dead for sure. Wu Dao said flatly. He looked at the demonic cave in the distance with a demonic light flickering in his eyes. He was shocked that Ling Xiao had jumped into the demonic cave. He knew better than anyone what was in the demonic cave. Even a noble realm expert would die if he jumped into the demonic cave, let alone Ling Xiao. He's just a kid who doesn't know what's good for him. Master Wudao, our top priority is to fight for the inheritance in the core. If you can obtain the inheritance of the sky-devouring supreme, it will only be a matter of time before you dominate the underworld sect and dominate the 8 Desolation region. The hoarse voice sounded behind Wudao. Uncle Ghost, don't worry. The inheritance of the sky-devouring supreme is mine. No one can take it away from me. Wudao smiled faintly. The corners of his mouth curled into a sinister smile. Buzz. A black light flashed and Wudao and the experts from the underworld sect disappeared from the valley. What happened in the Antiquity Age quickly spread throughout the mystery land of longevity and shocked everyone. The so-called longevity treasury was an illusion created by the illusory demonic ancient tree. It created a trap that swallowed countless warriors. In the end, thousands of people died in the illusory demonic ancient tree. Only Mo Kong, the Shenzhou crown prince, and a half-step noble realm expert escaped. The illusory demonic ancient tree? What's that? Even King Tianyan could not see through the illusion he created, and he even died in such a miserable manner? Some people were shocked and felt lucky that they were too far away from the longevity treasury. Otherwise, they would have become nourishment for the illusory demonic ancient tree. Tianyan King is the 8 Desolation region, the illusory demonic ancient tree. In my opinion, even a noble realm expert would find it difficult to protect himself if he was entangled by the illusory demon ancient tree. Everyone was talking about the phantom fiend ancient tree, and their faces changed when they talked about it. They all avoided the valley where the phantom fiend ancient tree was. I heard that Ling Xiao and Phoenix Maiden were killed by the illusory demonic ancient tree. Edition of Huang, of the Ling Supreme Heavens. She must have been implicated by Ling Xiao. My goddess. She's a beauty. I heard that Ling Xiao was bewitched by the illusory demonic ancient tree. He destroyed the formation that sealed the illusory demonic ancient tree. That's why so many experts died. Ling Xiao really deserves to die. Won't the sects that those martial artists belong to go crazy? That's right. I heard that many sects are looking for the disciples of the Changsun sect. They want to kill all of them to avenge their disciples. Someone heard from Mo Kong and the Shenzhou crown prince that Ling Xiao was bewitched by the illusory demonic ancient tree. He destroyed the formation that sealed the illusory demonic ancient tree. The sects of the martial artists who were killed by the illusory demon ancient tree vented their anger on the Changsheng sect that Ling Xiao was in. They searched everywhere for the Changsheng sect's disciples, wanting to take revenge. Even Mo Kong and the Shenzhou crown prince issued a bounty in the name of the Terminator demon sect and the Great Hong ancient kingdom. Killing a disciple of the Changsun sect was worth 100,000 spiritual crystals. Killing an elder of the Changsun sect was worth 500,000 spiritual crystals. Killing the sect leader of the Changsun sect, Nangong Xian, was worth 1 million spiritual crystals. All the sects in the Changsun secret territory went crazy. They treated the disciples of the Changsun sect as treasures. They searched everywhere for the whereabouts of the Changsun sect. In a desolate mountain, Sush, a sharp sword radiance pierced through the glabella of more than 10 warriors, killing them all. Li Ling held an ancient sword in his hand. The sword radiance around him was pure and unparalleled. His eyes were filled with coldness. This is already the 9th batch. Do they really think that the Changsun sect is a pushover? Nangong Xian, who had always been elegant, was also filled with anger. Many of the Changsun sect's disciples were covered in blood. They were filled with killing intent. Their auras were cold. It was obvious that they had gone through a series of battles. I don't believe that young master will die. No matter who it is, they can't kill young master. Shui Wei was in a white dress. Her face was beautiful and her skin was as clear as jade. Her big eyes were filled with determination. She held a black longsword in her hand. There were drops of blood dripping from it. Although Shui Wei's face was pale, she held the sword tightly in her hand. In the past few days, Shui Wei had grown from a little girl who didn't even dare to kill a rabbit. She had grown rapidly. She kept killing beasts to train herself. Even a few of the people who came to question the Changsun sect had died under Shui Wei's sword. Everyone from the Changsun sect had solemn and furious looks on their faces. The atmosphere was a little tense. In the past few days, news of Ling Xiao and Phoenix Girl's death in the illusion demon ancient tree had spread. Many experts came to question the Changsun sect and even set up traps to ambush them. They wanted to take the heads of the Changsun sect's disciples for rewards. The hearts of the Changsun sect members were getting heavier. Those who came to question the Changsun sect were getting stronger. Fortunately, Li Ling and the long-armed Ape King were there to help them persevere. Even so, there were still many people who were injured. They fought bloody battles all the way until they arrived at the desolate mountain range. I also believe that Ling Xiao is not dead. What we need to do now is to persevere. We need to preserve our strength and wait for Ling Xiao to return. Nangong Xian's gaze was calm as he scanned through the disciples of Changsun sect. Gradually, the disciples of Changsun sect calmed down. Sect leader is right. The Holy Sun's talent is unparalleled. I think it's Mo Kong and the God Illumination Crown Prince who are slandering the Holy Sun. Deng Yalan was a hardcore fan of Ling Xiao. He didn't believe Mo Kong and the God Illumination Crown Prince's words at all. We also believe in the Holy Sun. The Holy Sun will definitely return. Many of the Changsun sect's disciples were reinvigorated and their confidence was reignited. Chapter 371. Everyone, don't overthink it. The Ape King is the Holy Sun's spiritual beast and is connected to his soul. If the Holy Sun dies, the Ape King won't be able to live either. Therefore, the Holy Sun is definitely not dead. Li Ling also spoke up. He patted the Ape King beside him and looked at the crowd as he spoke slowly. After a few days of fighting, many disciples of the Changsun sect had been severely injured. They had crushed the Changsun token and teleported out. The remaining disciples of the Changsun sect were all extremely talented pro-disciples. There were only about 20 of them. These people were also the ones who had the most confidence in Ling Xiao. Boom! Right at this moment, a monstrous aura filled the air. Two figures appeared in the distant sky. One of them was a middle-aged man who looked elegant. He was wearing a robe with the sun, moon, and stars. His aura was ethereal and vast like the heavens and earth. There seemed to be the sun and moon floating in his eyes. Beside him was a burly middle-aged man in a black robe. Demonic chi filled the sky as if it could split the heavens and earth apart. He exuded a powerful explosive force and his aura was wild. It's the Yin-Yang Lord and the Nirvana Lord? Li Ling, Nangong Xian, and the rest were shocked. Their expressions turned solemn instantly. The Yin-Yang Lord and the Nirvana Lord were the sect masters of the Sun and Moon Star sect and the Nirvana Demon sect, respectively. They had disappeared after entering the Changsun secret land. Why were they here? Umph. The Nirvana Lord snorted when he saw the members of the Changsun sect below him. The Nirvana Lord's snort was like thunder. It shook the eardrums of Nangong Xian, Li Ling, and the rest. Their faces turned pale instantly. Some of the weaker disciples even spat out a mouthful of blood and were severely injured. Nirvana Lord, you're a noble realm expert. How dare you attack the disciples of the Changsun sect? Aren't you afraid of losing your dignity? Nangong Xian's eyes were filled with anger as he looked at the Nirvana Lord in the sky. Interesting. A mere Grandmaster Realm ant dares to speak to me in this manner. The Nirvana Lord's expression was cold. He looked at Nangong Xian as if he was looking at an ant. There was no emotion in his eyes. There seemed to be a black beam of light shooting out of his eyes towards Nangong Xian. It contained a terrifying sharpness. The martial way primordial spirit of a noble realm expert had gradually transcended the boundaries of a human. They had all sorts of incredible powers. The light in King of Nirvana's eyes contained a wisp of origin spirit power. He clearly wanted to teach Nangong Xian a lesson. Boom! Nangong Xian's expression changed. His body exuded a vast aura. Runes shot out from Nangong Xian's eyes and collided with King of Nirvana's light beam. Sparks seemed to fill the air. You can actually block the power of my primordial spirit? Nirvana King's eyes flashed as he reached out a hand to grab Nangong Xian. The eyes of Li Ling and the others were filled with anger. The Nirvana King treated them as if they were ants. He summoned them and sent them away as he pleased. Did he really think that he was a high and mighty deity? Li Ling's sword will was surging. The ancient sword in his hand emitted a sword radiance and slashed towards the Nirvana Lord. The long-armed ape king roared. His blood boiled. His huge fist was like a mountain as it blasted towards the Nirvana Lord. Ants will always be ants, the Nirvana Lord said indifferently. Then he slapped his huge palm down. The vast power of heaven and earth exploded. Terrifying airwaves swept across the land. Boom! Li Ling's cultivation was too weak. His unparalleled sword radiance was shattered by the Nirvana Lord's palm. He spat out a mouthful of blood as if he was struck by lightning. He was sent flying. The long-armed ape king was also sent flying by the Nirvana Lord's palm. He smashed into a mountain in the distance. The earth shook and the mountain shook. Sand and pebbles flew. Just one palm was enough to injure Li Ling, who was in the sky realm, and send the long-armed ape king, who was at the peak of the 6th stage, flying. The disciples of the Changsun sect sucked in a breath of cold air. Their eyes were filled with shock and anger. Such terrifying power made them despair. The Nirvana Lord was a powerful figure in the 8 Desolates region. Who could stop him? Boom! The Nirvana Lord's indifferent gaze fell on Nirvana Lord. He reached out his hand to grab Nirvana Lord again. Brother Nirvana, that's enough. You should have vented most of your anger. Let's get down to business. The Yin-Yang Lord, who was silent, smiled faintly. He reached out his hand and blocked the Nirvana Lord's attack. Like a spring breeze, the terrifying power of the palm was reduced to nothing. Brother Yin-Yang, because of that little bastard Ling Xiao, so many disciples of the Nirvana demon sect died in the hands of the illusory demonic ancient tree. These people from the Changsun sect should be buried with my disciples. However, I'll give you face and let them go for today. If they don't cooperate, then don't blame me for not showing mercy. The Nirvana Lord's face was cold. His voice exuded a chilling killing intent. The disciples of the Changsun sect were shocked. They felt uneasy. Brother Nirvana, you're magnanimous. Ling Xiao, the culprit, is dead. We'll let this matter rest. The Yin-Yang Lord smiled faintly and looked at Nirvana Lord and the others. I have something that I need your help with. Considering the relationship between our sects, I hope that you won't reject it. What is it? Nirvana Lord's eyes flashed as he asked flatly. Previously, Nangong Xian still had hopes for the Sun Moon Star sect. He thought that with the relationship between the two sects, the Sun Moon Star sect would at least take care of the Longevity sect. However, outside the Longevity secret realm, Nangong Xian saw through the hypocrisy of the Yin-Yang lords when they tried to snatch Ling Zhao's longevity qi refining technique. Therefore, he did not have a good impression of the Sun Moon Star sect and the Yin-Yang lord. Come with us. You'll know when you get there. Don't worry. We won't take your lives. The Yin-Yang lord smiled. What if we don't agree? Nirvana lord said slowly. Don't agree? Then you'll have to die. The Nirvana lord sneered. His eyes flashed with intense killing intent. Nirvana lord, Li Ling, and the others looked at each other. They were struggling. Although they had the Changsun token, they did not dare to use it in front of the Yin-Yang lord and the Nirvana lord. The two lords were unfathomable. Who knew if they could stop the Changsun token from being teleported? Everyone, it's not up to you. This is an urgent matter, so please come with me. The Yin-Yang lord smiled faintly and waved his sleeve. Suddenly, a majestic force of heaven and earth surged and swept Nirvana lord and the others up. Chapter 372. The demonic cave where the phantom ancient tree was. Endless demonic qi gushed out and there was an unfathomable abyss underground. Ling Xiao rode the old goat and carried the phoenix girl into the depths of the demonic cave. Countless vines emitted black demonic qi all around and attacked Ling Xiao and the others. However, they seemed to be afraid of Ling Xiao's aura and avoided him. Does the phantom ancient tree come from the same world as the extraterrestrial demons? I didn't expect the phantom ancient tree to be afraid of the wordless heavenly book. Ling Xiao's eyes sparkled as he guessed. He had activated the aura of the wordless heavenly book to envelop him, the old goat, and the phoenix girl. That was why they could pass through the black vines without any obstruction. Where is the phantom ancient tree? The old goat's eyes flashed as he saw the demonic qi below and a huge ancient tree was wrapped around it. It looked very strange. The ancient tree floated in the void. Its roots were very developed and coiled like a dragon. However, it was not rooted in the soil but in the void. The dragon qi of the earth veins surged and was devoured by the ancient tree. The ancient tree had no branches and leaves. Countless vines grew out of the trunk and stretched out in all directions like poisonous snakes. It really is the phantom ancient tree. Ling Xiao trembled as he finally saw the true face of the phantom ancient tree. The phantom ancient tree looked very strange, as if it had fallen into a deep sleep. Countless vines spread out in the void and absorbed the dragon qi of the earth veins below. No wonder 1,000,000 years ago, a mature illusory devil ancient tree could destroy an entire world and cause endless slaughter. If this continues, sooner or later, the entire immortal secret realm will be devoured by it. Ling Zhao's eyes grew solemn. He could feel that as the phantom ancient tree devoured the dragon qi of the earth veins, the mystery zone of immortality began to weaken. How strange. It's a devouring rule that's completely different from our sky-devouring secret skill. What is this thing? The old goat's eyes widened as he walked around the phantom ancient tree. His face was full of suspicion. Rings of mysterious blue light filled the air and contained extremely strong illusory power. Ling Xiao guessed that around the phantom ancient tree, even a noble would be pulled into the illusion. Once the illusory fiend ancient tree pulled them into the illusion, they could only wait for death. Ling Xiao, is this the illusory demonic ancient tree you mentioned? It looks very calm. Could it be that it didn't notice us? A hint of curiosity appeared in the Phoenix Maiden's eyes. It discovered us a long time ago, but it didn't make a move because it was afraid. Ling Xiao said indifferently. He could feel the fear, anger, killing intent, and expulsion from the illusory demonic tree. It wasn't that the phantom fiend ancient didn't want to kill Ling Xiao, but Ling Xiao had the wordless heavenly book. He was already invincible, and even the phantom fiend ancient couldn't do anything to him. Old goat, this demonic ancient tree is still in its infancy. This is really a blessing in disguise. How do you plan to deal with it? Ling Xiao carefully sensed for a moment and felt slightly relieved. He looked at the old goat and asked, "How do we deal with it?" This emperor wants to see if its devouring power is stronger or if this emperor's heaven-devouring secret technique is stronger. The old goat smiled proudly and swung its 4 hooves toward the phantom fiend ancient tree. The phantom fiend ancient tree looked to be only 100 feet tall and a few feet wide. Endless vines swayed around it, and a monstrous demonic chi filled the air. There was also a strong illusory power emanating from it. Boom! The old goat's body emitted a blazing golden light. A 3-legged, 2-eared golden cauldron was spat out from its mouth, emitting a mysterious and ancient aura. It slowly flew toward the phantom fiend ancient tree. Strands of golden light, like divine chains of order, slowly intertwined into a golden vortex, enveloping the phantom fiend ancient tree. Everything seemed very calm. The phantom fiend ancient tree was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. There was no movement at all. But at this moment, Ling Xiao felt an extremely dangerous aura. His face suddenly changed and he shouted, "Not good, old goat, come back quickly." Rumble! A monstrous demonic chi suddenly erupted, and a boundless evil aura surged out. The phantom fiend ancient tree seemed to have transformed into a monster that could devour everything, and it began to tremble violently. Countless vines shot through the air, breaking through the fear of the wordless heavenly tome. They were like vipers that shot toward Ling Xiao, the old goat, and the phoenix maiden. It was a terrifying sight to behold. Ghostly wails and howls filled the air as a sinister wind blew. The dark and evil aura seemed capable of freezing one's soul. Damn it, it's actually a growing phantom fiend ancient tree. Ling Xiao's heart sank as he sensed the phantom fiend ancient tree's aura skyrocketing. It had surpassed the fluctuations of the noble realm and reached the mysterious monarch realm. The aura of the monarch realm was that of a growing phantom fiend ancient tree. Its power was monstrous and boundless, and even a monarch realm expert would die without a doubt. It wasn't something that Ling Xiao and the others could resist. Boom! The black vines contained boundless god power, and in the blink of an eye, the old goat and the King Heaven Devourer cauldron were sent flying. More vines blotted out the sky as they bore down on Ling Xiao and the others. Damned phantom fiend ancient tree. So crafty. I can't believe it knows how to disguise itself. If I were in my prime, I could just use the King Heaven Devourer cauldron to suck it dry. The old goat returned, his face covered in grime. Clearly, he wasn't in a good mood. Cut the crap. Let's think about how to get out of here. Ling Xiao said with a wry smile. A growing phantom fiend ancient tree was far beyond what he could deal with. Furthermore, it had already developed a certain level of intelligence, which was why it had been able to set up such a trap. Wordless heavenly tome, it's all up to you. Ling Xiao thought to himself. A 9-colored light spread out from between his eyebrows. The wordless heavenly book instantly rushed out and floated above Ling Xiao's head. It sprinkled down rays of golden light. It was as dazzling as a jade. Boom! The wordless heavenly book swallowed the dark devil chi in an instant. When the dense vines came into contact with the light emitted by the wordless heavenly book, they actually let out a sizzling sound, as if they were being burned by fire, and hurriedly moved back. Is the phantom fiend ancient tree afraid of the wordless heavenly tome? Ling Xiao thought, his eyes glittering. He could sense that the phantom fiend ancient tree was filled with both fear and greed for the wordless heavenly tome. Furthermore, devil light was pulsing, as if it were preparing to unleash a devastating attack. The wordless heavenly tome? You actually have a precious treasure like that, boy? Ha! We're saved. What dogs hit phantom fiend ancient tree? Just watch as I destroy it. Chapter 373. Old Goat, you recognize the wordless heavenly book? Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. He had obtained the textless heavenly book from the Scarlet Dragon War God's tomb. Moreover, Ling Xiao was increasingly convinced that the textless heavenly book was the most precious treasure in the tomb, far surpassing the Scarlet Dragon War God's godhead. However, the war god of Scarlet Dragon was an ancient figure from millions of years ago. How could the old goat recognize the wordless heavenly book? According to legend, the wordless heavenly book is the treasure of the war god of Scarlet Dragon. It contains the highest secrets of the heavens and myriad worlds. It is the most powerful thing to restrain all evil. With the wordless heavenly book, your sky-devouring secret skill will definitely rise to an unimaginable level. The old goat said excitedly, staring at the wordless heavenly book with shining eyes. Does it have an effect on the sky-devouring secret skill? Ling Zhao's eyes lit up, and he suddenly felt enlightened. There were 108 secret skills recorded in the wordless heavenly book, and the sky-devouring secret skill was ranked 14th among the 36 heavenly dipper secret skills. Ling Zhao had long felt that the wordless heavenly book was not simple, but he had never thought of using it to perform a secret skill. Boom! Ling Zhao integrated his martial Dao spirit into the wordless heavenly book and performed the sky-devouring secret skill at the same time. Suddenly, the world rumbled, golden clouds surged, and a golden lotus appeared above Ling Zhao's head. It was hundreds of feet in size and emitted an incomparably gorgeous light. The sky-devouring golden lotus. Ling Zhao felt that he had gained insight into the mystery of the sky-devouring secret skill, and the power of the sky-devouring golden lotus had increased tenfold in an instant, emitting a powerful devouring force. The surrounding strange black fog was devoured by the sky-devouring golden lotus, and the black vines retreated as if they had been electrocuted by the golden light. Wordless heavenly book. Success. Damn it. The phantom ancient tree seemed to be furious at this moment, and it emitted a series of obscure syllables. Ling Zhao instantly understood what it wanted to express. Boom! Black demonic light surged, and countless vines emitted blood-red light, as if they had turned into a huge devouring black hole, madly devouring Ling Zhao and the others. That evil power seemed to want to tear people's souls to shreds. It was incomparably terrifying. Want to devour us? Let's see who swallows who. There was a hint of madness in Ling Zhao's eyes. The wordless heavenly book and the sky-devouring golden lotus had given him great confidence. Ling Zhao did not resist at all. He turned into a ray of light with the old goat and phoenix girl and entered the black hole. Swallow! Ling Zhao shouted loudly. The sky-devouring golden lotus emitted millions of rays of auspicious light. Lotus flowers bloomed, and a golden vortex spread out. The endless black fog was swallowed by the sky-devouring golden lotus. The textless heavenly book floated above the sky-devouring golden lotus. There seemed to be a mysterious resonance between the two, which made the power of the sky-devouring golden lotus increasingly terrifying. Vast amounts of black fog gushed forth like an ocean, turning into nutrients for the sky-devouring golden lotus and the textless heavenly book. Ha! It's just a mere illusory demonic ancient tree. Watch this emperor's power. The old goat also laughed loudly, his eyes filled with excitement. In the blink of an eye, the King Heaven Devourer cauldron was fully 30,000 meters tall, burning with golden flames and magical laws as it began to devour the power of the Mirage Devil Tree. Ryumble! A wave of panic came from the illusory devil ancient tree, and it began to tremble violently. The black fog began to burn, turning into balls of black demonic fire. It was cold and scorching, as if it wanted to burn Ling Zhao into ashes. At the same time, countless vines appeared out of thin air and emitted an extremely dense illusory power, trying to pull Ling Zhao into the illusion. However, the illusory fiend ancient tree's most powerful means were all restrained by the wordless heavenly book. It sadly discovered that it could only be devoured by Ling Zhao. Its monstrous mana had no use at all. Instead, it became nourishment for Ling Zhao. Rumble! As the heaven-devouring golden lotus and the King Heaven Devourer cauldron shot through the air, the wordless heavenly scripture shone with mysterious light, causing them to grow stronger and stronger. Eventually, they reached the phantom devil primal tree, where they unleashed a devouring power that began devouring it. The Mirage Devil Tree had been sealed for 10,000 years, and had just devoured the flesh, blood, and souls of over 1,000 human experts. But now, it realized that it was incapable of fighting back against Ling Zhao and the old goat. It was simply too powerful. The Mirage Devil Tree had been building up power for over 1,000 years, and had devoured so much earth energy that it was on the verge of devouring everything. But now Ling Zhao and the old goat were benefiting from it. Rumble! In Ling Zhao's Dantian Qi Si, the devouring heaven gang qi permeated the air like waves. The endless power of the illusory demonic ancient tree was devoured and turned into the purest devouring heaven gang qi. It integrated into Ling Zhao's Dantian Qi Si and began to improve his cultivation. Second level of the Grandmaster Realm. Third level of the Grandmaster Realm. Peak of the third level of the Grandmaster Realm. Ling Zhao's cultivation base was rising at a speed visible to the naked eye. The old goat was doing the same. He was glowing with dazzling light as the power of the Mirage Devil Tree was being absorbed by the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron, nourishing his fleshly body and healing his numerous Tao injuries. Although the Mirage Devil Tree was still growing, the power it contained was far more terrifying than that of a Monarch Realm expert. Ling Xiao and the old goat were surrounded by dazzling golden light as the dark and evil devil energy was transformed into the purest energy of heaven and earth, creating a spirit mist between them. How did they do it? Phoenix Maiden's eyes were wide with disbelief. The spirit mist was so dense that even breathing it in could transform it into pure cultivation base. Although Phoenix Maiden was envious, she remembered Ling Zhao's words and didn't take the risk to cultivate. Instead, she sealed her pores and suppressed her cultivation base. Phoenix Maiden had the dark phoenix body, but cultivated the vermilion bird true art. Therefore, the faster her cultivation base grew, the more disadvantageous it would be for her. She could even hear the Mirage Devil Tree roaring and attacking, but the wordless heavenly tome negated all of it. Those ferocious and monstrous vines began to wither at a speed visible to the naked eye after their dark energy was devoured. As the Mirage Devil Tree grew weaker and weaker, Ling Xiao and the old goat's auras grew stronger and stronger. 3 days later, the Mirage Devil Tree was on the verge of death. All of its vines had withered away, leaving only half of its trunk, which glowed with black light. The illusory fiend ancient was shrouded in golden divine light. The strands were like divine chains of order, completely sealing the illusory fiend ancient. There was no way for it to resist. Chapter 374. Buzz. 2 resplendent beams of divine light shot out. Ling Xiao opened his eyes, which were filled with excitement. Based on his normal cultivation speed, it would take him at least 5 years to break through from level 2 to level 9 of the Grandmaster Realm. After all, Ling Zhao's accumulation was too strong. It was much harder for him to break through compared to ordinary people. After devouring the illusory demon ancient tree, Ling Zhao's cultivation had broken through to level 9 of the Grandmaster Realm. Phoenix Girl was stunned by the speed of his improvement. Is this guy cultivating the Sky-Devouring Supreme's Sky-Devouring secret skill? Phoenix Woman's body jerked. At this moment, even she could tell that Ling Xiao was so ferocious that he could even devour the phantom demon ancient tree. There was a high chance that he had cultivated the heaven-devouring secret skill of the heaven-devouring supreme. Legend had it that the Sky-Devouring Supreme's Sky-Devouring secret skill could devour everything. It was extremely powerful. There are so many illusory demon tree cores? I'm rich, I'm really rich. The old goat also woke up and kicked open the trunk of the illusion devil ancient tree. His eyes lit up when he saw the resplendent core inside. It was as translucent as jade and dazzling to the eye. Crunch, crunch. The old goat did not care. He grabbed one of the illusory demon tree cores and began to chew. His body began to emit a black light and his face was filled with intoxication. Old goat, you bastard! These illusory demon tree cores are top-grade treasures for refining supreme pills. How can you just swallow them? Ling Zhao's face twitched when he saw the old goat munching on the illusory demon tree cores. His eyes were filled with anger and he quickly ran over to fight for the illusory demon tree cores. In the end, Ling Xiao only got 3 illusory demon tree cores. The rest were all swallowed by the old goat. A cow chewing on peony. A cow chewing on peony. Ling Zhao's face was filled with pain. The illusory demon ancient tree was a species that had been lost for a long time. Therefore, the illusory demon tree core was extremely precious. It was a supreme treasure for refining supreme pills. In the end, Ling Xiao only got 3 illusory demon tree cores. The rest were swallowed by the old goat. The old goat had an innocent look on his face as he chuckled. Kid, swallowing these illusory demon tree hearts is enough to heal my Tao injury by 1/10. How can a few illusory demon tree hearts be more important than my body? Wait until this emperor recovers his cultivation. This emperor can casually chop down a few dozen phantom fiend ancient trees for you. Cut down dozens of phantom fiend ancient trees? Will you die if you stop bragging? Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and decided to ignore the old goat. He was afraid that he would not be able to control himself and beat the old goat up. After the illusory demonic ancient tree was devoured, only 1/10 of the wordless heavenly book's golden light shone. It seemed that it would take a lot of effort for the next secret skill to appear. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly. Suddenly, his eyes flashed as he saw a withered seed on the trunk of the illusory demon ancient tree. What is this? The seed of the phantom fiend ancient tree? Ling Xiao stretched out his hand and picked up the withered seed. Suddenly, a black light flashed and the half-withered phantom fiend ancient tree turned into ashes in an instant. A ray of light blended into the withered seed, leaving a mysterious pattern on it. The pattern was like an ancient tree that connected heaven and earth. Countless gods and demons grew on it. Stars hung on the branches and a chaotic world pervaded the air. It was extremely mysterious. In the end, the seed became simple and unadorned. There was no movement at all. It seems like it really is the seed of the phantom fiend ancient tree. Strange, I've never heard of the phantom fiend ancient tree having seeds. This guy can't really grow a phantom fiend ancient tree, right? The old goat came over and revealed a mouthful of white teeth as if he wanted to take a bite. Ling Xiao hurriedly kept the seed and looked at the old goat with vigilance. He was afraid that the old goat would swallow it just like that. I'm just taking a look, just taking a look. The old goat rolled his eyes and chuckled. Ling Xiao, are you really the disciple of the sky-devouring supreme? Phoenix Maiden asked hesitantly. Only when she saw Ling Xiao swallow the phantom fiend ancient tree did she start to believe Ling Xiao's identity. After all, the phantom fiend ancient tree was too terrifying. Phoenix Maiden believed that even the Black Dragon King would die without a doubt if he was here. However, Ling Xiao swallowed the phantom fiend ancient tree. This was very similar to the legendary sky-devouring secret technique. It's the real deal. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and admitted it directly. Phoenix Maiden looked at Ling Xiao differently. No wonder this young man had such terrifying talent. His identity as the disciple of the sky-devouring supreme was enough to explain everything. So, you're not lying to me. Did the sect leader teach me the vermilion bird true technique with ulterior motives? Phoenix Maiden's eyes flashed with a hint of sadness and her voice became a little low. Previously, she didn't dare to believe Ling Xiao's words, but she suddenly realized that she couldn't convince herself anymore. Perhaps the Black Dragon King wanted her to cultivate the vermilion bird true technique just as Ling Xiao said. He coveted her primordial Yin energy and wanted to use it to break through to the Emperor realm. You do have the body of the Black Phoenix, and your primordial Yin energy can indeed help powerhouses break through their cultivation. Ling Xiao said slowly. All right. Phoenix Maiden took a deep breath and seemed to have made up her mind. She took out an ancient jade book and handed it to Ling Xiao. This is the vermilion bird true technique. If you can really find the true Phoenix secret technique for me, why can't I, Phoenix Maiden, be your maid? Ling Xiao took the ancient jade book and looked deeply at Phoenix Maiden. He smiled and said, Very good. One day, you'll be glad for the choice you made today. Ling Xiao knew that Phoenix Maiden was truly loyal to him at this moment. Perhaps. Phoenix Maiden smiled and looked very charming. It was as if she had put down a burden and became much more relaxed. Ling Xiao, what do you think that is? Old Goat suddenly said. He looked at a place in the distance, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. The underground abyss had been devoured by the illusory demon ancient tree. It was like another world, empty and dark. However, in the dark underground abyss in the distance, a faint light flickered, revealing a mysterious aura fluctuation. Let's go and take a look. Ling Zhao's eyes moved. He sensed a familiar fluctuation from the aura, and he immediately flew in that direction. Old Goat and Phoenix Maiden also followed him. The underground abyss was unimaginably vast. Ling Xiao and the other two flew for more than 50 kilometers before they saw a mysterious altar on the ground in front of them. Chapter 375. This is the Yin-Yang altar? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and revealed a trace of surprise. The Yin-Yang altar was a treasure that connected the power of Yin and Yang to form the Yin-Yang saint body. Only experts who cultivated the Sun-Moon-Star scripture could form the Yin-Yang altar in their bodies when they broke through to the supreme realm. If Ling Xiao's guess was right, the Yin-Yang altar was most likely left behind by his subordinate, the founder of the Sun-Moon-Star sect, Shang Guanming. Why would Shang Guanming's Yin-Yang altar appear here? Could he have fallen as well? Ling Xiao thought to himself. His martial Tao primordial spirit spread out and he felt an extremely familiar aura from the Yin-Yang altar. The Sun-Moon-Star scripture was an honorable martial technique. Ling Xiao obtained it 10,000 years ago when he explored an ancient relic. Although Shang Guanming was only at the monarch realm at that time, he was loyal to Ling Xiao, so Ling Xiao gave him the Sun-Moon-Star scripture. All honorable martial techniques contained true inheritance. Ling Xiao didn't cultivate the Sun-Moon-Star scripture in his previous life, so he only knew a little about it and couldn't pass it on to Yueshan. Perhaps the Yin-Yang altar contains the inheritance of the Sun-Moon-Star scripture. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he turned into a golden ray of light that flew towards the Yin-Yang altar. The Yin-Yang altar was situated within the abyss, surrounded by vast and empty lands. The Yin-Yang altar radiated a hazy light. From afar, it appeared very small. However, upon approaching it, one would discover that the Yin-Yang altar was 810 zhang tall, like a small mountain. There were mysterious runes carved on the Yin-Yang altar as if they were describing the mysteries of the world. It's the Yin-Yang altar? Could it be left behind by that old bastard Shang Guanming? Ling Xiao, Shang Guanming was your master's subordinate. He was a giant in the demonic Tao and only broke through to the supreme realm because of your master's Sun-Moon-Star scripture. Perhaps the Yin-Yang altar contains the inheritance of the Sun-Moon-Star scripture. If you can get it, you'll be rich. The old goat recognized the Yin-Yang altar and his eyes lit up. He walked around the Yin-Yang altar and clicked his tongue. The old goat was familiar with Shang Guanming 10,000 years ago, so it was easy for him to recognize the Yin-Yang altar. Shang Guanming? Is he the founder of the Sun-Moon-Star sect? Did he leave this behind? Phoenix Girl's eyes moved. After hearing the old goat's words, her face revealed a trace of shock. She found it hard to believe. However, the Yin-Yang altar in front of her was emitting a suppressive aura. It was like an invincible supreme being, causing her to tremble in fear. Don't act rashly. This Yin-Yang altar is not ordinary. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He felt the wordless heavenly book begin to vibrate. It was as if something within the Yin-Yang altar had attracted the attention of the wordless heavenly book. Could it be extraterrestrial demons? Ling Xiao's gaze turned solemn. This Yin-Yang altar looked extremely ancient and had existed for tens of thousands of years. At that time, the only thing that could have killed Shang Guanming was the great calamity that swept across the world. The invasion of the extraterrestrial demons. From the memories of the Mullah Heavenly Devil King, Ling Xiao saw that during the great calamity 10,000 years ago, the longevity sect was the main battlefield. The extraterrestrial demons caused endless slaughter. Perhaps the longevity mystic realm was not spared either. The reason why the longevity mystic realm had been sealed by the Jinsei for 10,000 years was probably the same as the 8 desolate mystic realm. It was to suppress the extraterrestrial demons. Something doesn't seem right. There's the aura of those extraterrestrial demons? The old goat's eyes shone brightly as he spoke slowly. Extraterrestrial demons? If Senior Shang Guanming was able to suppress the extraterrestrial demons with his supremacy realm cultivation, how strong would they be? The Phoenix Maiden's beautiful eyes revealed a trace of shock. After devouring the illusory demonic ancient tree, she had also heard some news about the extraterrestrial demons from Ling Xiao. She was extremely shocked. If there was really an extraterrestrial demon king sealed within the Yin Yang altar, they would be in big trouble. Perhaps they would accidentally release a ferocious great demon. We can't touch this Yin Yang altar. Let's leave this place first. Ling Xiao said slowly. There was an uneasy feeling in his heart. This was not the 8 desolate mystic realm. There was no 8 desolate demon suppression array that could provide Ling Xiao with endless energy. If a heavenly demon king was born, Ling Xiao would definitely die even with the wordless heavenly book. There must be something good in this Yin Yang altar. What a pity! The old goat's face was also filled with unwillingness. When he thought about how he could not obtain the treasures in the Yin Yang altar, his heart ached. Just as Ling Xiao and the other 2 were about to leave, the Yin Yang altar suddenly emitted a vast and violent aura. Rumble! Black and white divine light filled the air. The extreme Yin Qi seemed to have been triggered by someone. In an instant, it shot up into the sky. The aura of the Yin Yang altar became extremely violent. The mysterious runes in the surroundings began to light up, causing the entire Yin Yang altar to shine brightly. The black divine light shot up into the sky as if it had broken some kind of seal. The Yin Yang altar actually began to rotate slowly. An ancient stone door appeared at the top of the altar. It was enshrouded in a faint glow. A magnificent figure appeared on the altar. Using the full circle true lunar skill to activate the Yin Yang altar? What a great move! Moon Goddess, I have really underestimated you. Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly as he looked at the magnificent figure. That person was the Moon Goddess. The Moon Goddess was wearing a feather robe. Her figure was graceful as she was enveloped in the bright moonlight. Her skin was like jade and her black hair was like a waterfall. Her beautiful face was flawless. She looked cold and ethereal, like a fairy who was aloof from the world. She stood in front of the light door. Her starry eyes revealed a trace of excitement. However, when she saw Ling Xiao and the other 2 below the altar, she could not help but be slightly stunned. The Moon Goddess did not expect to see Ling Xiao here. Moreover, there was a familiar person standing beside Ling Xiao. It was the Phoenix girl of the Wan Shou sect. She and the Moon Goddess were the 2 beauties of the 8 Desolates region. This girl is too beautiful. I like her. The old goat's eyes lit up when he saw the Moon Goddess. His words made Ling Xiao speechless. Even when he saw the Phoenix girl, the old goat did not have much of a reaction. However, when he saw the Moon Goddess, the old goat became excited. The Moon Goddess's face froze. An old goat that could talk? Moreover, the old goat's passionate gaze made the Moon Goddess feel uncomfortable. Moon Goddess, why are you here? Ling Xiao asked curiously. Speaking of which, Moon God and Ling Xiao had entered the immortal mystery area together. Because of the Black Sky 5 Elements formation, Moon God had been sent to a random place. Ling Xiao did not expect to see Moon God there. Chapter 376. The 5 Elements Black Heaven formation outside the Longevity Secret Territory seems to be randomly teleporting me. So, when I entered the Longevity Secret Territory, I appeared here directly. I didn't expect to encounter the Sun and Moon altar left behind by the founder. Yueshan said slowly. Her gaze fell on Ling Xiao, Phoenix Lady, and the old goat in surprise. Ling Xiao should be at odds with the Wan Shou sect. Why would he be with the Phoenix Lady? Moreover, there was a talking old goat beside him. It was a strange combination. You were teleported here directly? Maybe it's your ancestor who's guiding you here. Ling Xiao was stunned. He didn't expect Yueshan to be so lucky to be teleported to the Sun and Moon altar. To Ling Xiao's surprise, the Moon deity appeared to only be at the 2nd level of the Sky Human stage. However, she had already cultivated the true lunar technique to perfection. That was why she was able to trigger the resonance of the Sun-Moon altar and open the seal within it. Ling Xiao, this Sun and Moon altar might contain the inheritance left behind by founder Shangguan. I hope you can help me obtain the Sun-Moon Stars scripture. Yueshan looked at Ling Xiao and said indifferently. Her eyes shone with a strange light. Before Ling Xiao could say anything, the old goat licked his lips and said with a smile, "This emperor is very familiar with Shangguan Ming. Don't worry, as long as you follow this emperor will help you obtain the Sun Moon Star scripture. You know Founder Shangguan? Yueshan looked at the old goat in surprise. This old goat gave her a strange feeling. It didn't look like it had reached the Demon King realm, but it could speak human language. Moreover, its aura was very mysterious. Yueshan couldn't see through it. Of course, Shangguan Ming was a general under the Sky Devourer Supreme 10,000 years ago. This emperor is the Sky Devourer Supreme's elder brother. Back then, Shangguan Ming was very respectful in front of this emperor. Little girl, as long as you serve this emperor well, the Sun Moon Star's scripture won't be a problem, the old goat said with a proud smile. Ling Xiao felt his face blushing. The old goat seemed to be possessed today. He actually dared to tease Yueshan. Ling Xiao couldn't help but want to kick him away. The corner of the moon god's mouth twitched. The old goat's words made her speechless. What big brother of the sky-devouring sovereign? This old goat was too shameless. He didn't know his place at all. Yueshan didn't care about the old goat and looked at Ling Xiao with a curious gaze. Yueshan, I did promise you that I will help you obtain the Sun Moon Star scripture. However, this altar is not ordinary. There might be a powerful demon sealed inside it. Are you sure you want to go in? Ling Xiao thought for a moment and said to Moon God. The Sun Moon Star scripture is very important to me. I have to go in. Also, I can feel the aura of the Sun God. He is also on the altar. The Moon God insisted. God, Sun God, realm sex realm God, emperor God, sex realm cultivator realm. But how did he enter the altar? Could it be that there are other passageways to the altar? Ling Xiao thought for a moment and nodded. Alright, I'll go in with you. However, if you encounter any danger, you have to listen to me. Sure. Yueshan smiled and nodded in agreement. Ling Xiao, you can't go in. There might be extraterrestrial demons inside. She wants to die. You can't go with her. Phoenix Maiden was anxious and tried to dissuade Ling Xiao. Don't worry. If something goes wrong, I'll come out immediately. You can wait for me outside, Ling Xiao said with a smile. Phoenix Maiden saw Ling Xiao's insistence and said, You can go in. I'll go in too. That God's Sun God isn't easy to deal with. You'll be at a disadvantage if you face him alone. How arrogant. How dare you call yourself God's son? When I meet him, I'll teach him a lesson. I'll let him know that young people shouldn't be too arrogant. The old goat walked over, glared at him, and sneered. Ling Xiao let out a bitter laugh. In the end, he agreed and entered the yin-yang altar together. The ancient stone door on the altar glowed. Ling Xiao and the other three walked through the stone door. Suddenly, there was a flash of light and they arrived in an unfamiliar space. The sky was gray and the surrounding black fog surged. It flowed underground as if it had formed a part of the earth chi dragon vein. The black ground around them was tainted by demonic chi. There was only a floating sacred mountain in front of them. It was black and white and gave off an ancient and desolate aura. It looked majestic. The sacred mountain looked very peaceful. Spiritual fog lingered, waterfalls flowed, and many strange flowers and herbs could be seen. There were towering ancient trees, and it was like a paradise. It was a sharp contrast to the surroundings. It was as though ghosts were wailing and wolves were howling, causing one's hair to stand on end. On the black ground, clumps of black shadows appeared. They looked very illusory, but their eyes were filled with bloodlust and killing intent. They suddenly charged towards Ling Xiao and the other three. Extraterrestrial demons? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He realized that those black shadows were the spiritual imprints of the extraterrestrial demons. Although they had died in battle many years ago, they were still like puppets in this place that was tainted by demonic chi. Their murderous intent was endless. Boom! Ling Xiao's martial path primordial spirit spread out. It was as if golden lightning had exploded in the void. Those black shadows were instantly shattered and turned into a thick black fog that surged toward the sacred mountain. The sacred mountain was resplendent and there was a mysterious array around it. It extracted the demonic chi from below and turned it into the purest spiritual chi of heaven and earth to nourish the treasures on the sacred mountain. Good move, what a good move. Shang Guanming, that old man, actually cultivated the Sutra of Stars and Moons to such a level? He used the power of yin and yang to turn the demonic qi of the extraterrestrial demons into spiritual qi of heaven and earth to nourish such a huge sacred mountain. The old goat exclaimed in admiration. His eyes were filled with excitement. The demonic qi in the extraterrestrial demons was incompatible with this world. If an ordinary cultivator was tainted by the demonic qi, it was very likely that they would become demonic puppets that only knew how to kill. It was extremely difficult to resolve. This was also the reason why the calamity 10,000 years ago caused endless slaughter. But here, the black ground seemed to have become nourishment. The sacred mountain absorbed endless demonic qi and turned it into spiritual qi of heaven and earth. This way, not only could it nourish a paradise, it could also destroy the extraterrestrial demons to the greatest extent. Ancestral Master Shang Guanming's methods are heaven-defying. I'm afraid that in these 10,000 years, even the powerful extraterrestrial demons would have been killed. I can feel that the Sutra of Stars and Moons is on the sacred mountain. The sun god is also there. Chapter 377. Ling Xiao and the others did not stay for long. After killing a large number of extraterrestrial demons, they rushed up to the floating sacred mountain. Sky grass, emoli flower, rootless fruit, 10,000 years dark iron. There are so many treasures here. When they reached the floating sacred mountain, the Phoenix Maiden was shocked. There were treasures everywhere on the floating sacred mountain. Even a random stone could be used to refine spiritual weapons. It could be said that this floating sacred mountain was a treasure mountain. Although there were treasures everywhere in the mystery land of immortality, they were still inferior to this place. This sacred mountain has been nourished for tens of thousands of years. I'm afraid the entire mountain has turned into a treasure. Ling Xiao's eyes twinkled as he carefully examined the sacred mountain. He was deep in thought. The floating sacred mountain was black and white. It was similar to a treasure that Ling Xiao had seen in his previous life, but there were some differences. Let's go up the mountain first. It won't be too late to collect treasures after we get the Sun and Moon Star scripture. The moon goddess looked at Ling Xiao and the others and said slowly, "Okay, let's go." Ling Xiao nodded. After coming here, Ling Xiao could feel the aura of the sun god on the sacred mountain. The moon goddess and the sun god were both geniuses of the Sun and Moon Star sect. It would depend on who could get the Sun and Moon Star scripture first. Ling Xiao and the others flew all the way to the top of the sacred mountain. They could already see a dazzling starry sky at the top of the mountain. It looked very beautiful. Rumble. A rumble came from the top of the mountain. The entire floating sacred mountain began to shake. The sun and moon rose and fell, and stars circled around. A huge palace appeared at the top of the mountain. The palace looked incomparably ancient. It breathed in and out chaos chi, and was shrouded in an endless amount of light. The doors were already wide open, and one could vaguely make out a slender figure of a young man clad in a golden battle armor within the palace. He was surrounded by the sun, moon, and stars, and looked extremely mysterious. At the door of the palace, there was an elder in a black robe. He looked very old, as if half of his body was about to be buried. However, there seemed to be a terrifying divine light shooting out from his turbid eyes. This elder was a half-step to the noble realm expert. Halt! The old man's gaze was like lightning, instantly spotting Ling Xiao and the other three who had rushed up the mountain. Instantly, he let out a loud bellow, his voice exploding in the air like thunder. Moreover, a vast and unparalleled aura emanated from his body. It was cold and oppressive, as if he was about to launch a thunderous attack at any moment. "Get out of my way!" The moon god's eyes flashed with a cold light. She stared at the old man and said, she could see that the person in the palace was the sun god. At this moment, the sun, moon, and stars were revolving around him. The palace was shining with divine light, faintly forming a resonance. It was as if he was receiving the inheritance of the Sun Moon Stars scripture. "Moon goddess, why are you here?" The old man's eyes flashed with uncertainty. However, when he saw Ling Xiao and the others behind the moon goddess, he immediately sneered, "Moon goddess, the sun god is cultivating in seclusion. No one is allowed to disturb him. If you dare to force your way in, don't blame me for being impolite." From the old man's point of view, Ling Xiao and the Phoenix Maiden's cultivation were not worth mentioning, and the old goat was automatically ignored by him. The moon goddess was strong, but he did not think that she could defeat a half-step noble realm expert. "Oh, looks like I'm being looked down upon. Old goat, get over here and kowtow to me. Otherwise, I guarantee that I'll beat you until your mother won't recognize you." The old goat walked out casually and glanced at the old man from the corner of his eyes. "Bastard, I'll kill you." The old man's face turned cold. Although he was the sun god's old servant, his status in the Sun Moon Stars sect was very high. Even the elders were polite to him. Today, he was looked down upon by a goat. Immediately, he slapped toward the old goat. Boom! This slap contained unparalleled power. It actually enveloped Ling Xiao, the moon goddess, and the Phoenix Maiden. It was very sinister, as it wanted to keep them all here. It was uncertain how long the sun god would take to receive the inheritance, so he could not let these people disturb him. He also could not let them leave and leak the news. Therefore, Ling Xiao and the others could only die. The old man's eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. In his opinion, even if the moon goddess could survive this slap, the others would die without a doubt. Boom! At this moment, a huge goat hoof suddenly came across the sky. It rapidly enlarged in the old man's eyes. It contained an unparalleled power that directly shattered his slap and kicked toward his face. At this moment, the evil old goat's chi and blood surged. It was as if it had turned into an ancient ferocious beast. What? The old man was shocked and furious. He could not believe that an old goat could suddenly become so terrifying. His arm glowed and blocked the goat's hoof. With a muffled sound, the old man felt a piercing pain. His arm was about to break. He flew back dozens of feet and smashed into the palace with a loud bang. "Ling Xiao, I'll stop this old guy. You guys go in first," the old goat said heroically. Clearly, after devouring the power of the phantom tree and so many tree hearts, the old goat had recovered a lot of his strength. It had also boosted his confidence. An old man who was half a step away from the noble plane was nothing in his eyes. "Okay, you be careful." Ling Xiao knew the old goat's strength, so he did not hold back. He led the moon goddess and the Phoenix lady into the palace. "You can't go in. Stay here." The old man was shocked and furious. After standing up, he immediately wanted to rush up to Ling Xiao and the other two. "Old man, I'm your opponent." The old goat's body flashed and instantly blocked the old man. He had a very human smile on his face. He grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth, and charged toward the old man. Boom! How terrifying was the old goat's strength. The collision caused even the void to tremble slightly. Although the old man was anxious and furious, he did not dare to underestimate the old goat. He could only explode with all his cultivation and fight the old goat. Ling Xiao, the moon goddess, and the Phoenix lady entered the palace without obstruction. Inside the palace, the sun god stood at the center. Behind him, a dazzling sun rose and fell. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his aura was vast and majestic. He was like the sun god king, and he had an unparalleled confidence. The sun and moon revolved above his head. The galaxy was vast. There was an ancient jade book with countless mysterious runes on it that slowly descended. It's the true meaning of the scripture of stars. Chapter 378. The Sun Moon Star Scripture? Ling Xiao looked at the ancient jade book above his head, and a trace of emotion appeared in his eyes. The Sun Moon Star Scripture was passed down to Shang Guanming by Ling Xiao. Who would have thought that after so many years, Shang Guanming had died and the inheritance of the Sun Moon Star Scripture had been passed down. The sun god stood under the ancient jade book and activated the true sun technique. He had attracted the attention of the ancient jade book and wanted to obtain the inheritance of the Sun Moon Star Scripture. After all, The sun god was a disciple of the sun-moon-star sect, and the true sun technique was a part of the sun-moon-star scripture. It could be said that they were of the same lineage. Therefore, he had a high chance of obtaining the inheritance of the sun-moon-star scripture. Boom! The moon goddess's body exuded a vast and ethereal aura. It was as if a full moon had risen into the sky and shone down its radiant light. The moon goddess's clothes fluttered in the wind. She was like a goddess from the moon palace. She had a pure and holy aura. The ancient jade book that was about to fall towards the sun god trembled slightly and stopped in the air as if it was struggling. After all, the true sun technique and the true moon technique were both part of the sun-moon-star scripture. The moon goddess and the sun god were both qualified to obtain the inheritance of this supreme martial art. However, the inheritance could only be obtained once. Therefore, the moon goddess and the sun god would not give it up. Junior sister moon goddess, I found the inheritance of the sun-moon-star scripture first. Aren't you being a little rude? The sun god opened his eyes. There was a cold glint in his eyes as he glanced at the moon god. Senior brother sun god, the sun-moon-star scripture is the ultimate martial art of the sun-moon-star sect. I will not give it to you just because you said so. The moon goddess smiled faintly. She was a very determined person and naturally would not be swayed by the sun god's words. Buzz. In the air, the ancient jade book shone with dazzling light. Behind the moon god and the sun god, a full moon and a sun floated up and down. They were vast and mysterious, forming a connection with the ancient jade book. They wanted to steal the inheritance contained in the ancient jade book. Junior sister Yueshin, you have to believe that you can't beat me. I promise that when I'm able to condense the true intent of the solar lunar star scripture, I'll impart this ultimate art to you. The sun god said to the moon god after a moment of silence. Condense the true meaning of the sun, moon, and stars scripture? At the very least, it would require the strength of a supreme being, right? Senior brother sun god, even if your talent is unparalleled, will it take you 500 years or 1,000 years to break through to the supremacy realm? The moon god smiled faintly. Her eyes shone brightly. The sun god's gaze turned cold. He could hear the mockery in moon god's words. Although he believed that his talent was peerless, he didn't dare to say that he could break through to the supremacy stage within 500 years. After all, the word supreme was too extraordinary. It represented the pinnacle of martial arts. Even the leaders of the major martial arts holy lands, who had lived for hundreds of years, were only in the noble plane. To be able to break through to the supreme being realm within 1,000 years was already a shocking feat. The moon goddess naturally couldn't wait for 1,000 years. Since that's the case, then let's rely on our own abilities. The sun god said indifferently. The sharpness in his eyes reached the extreme in an instant. Boom! Behind the sun god, the sun rose and fell, swallowing the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. The scorching aura spread out in all directions. Strands of divine chains of order extended out, forming a close connection with the ancient jade book in the air. The ancient jade book trembled slightly and began to fly toward the sun god. After all, the sun god's cultivation was higher than the moon god's. In some ways, the true art of the sun was stronger than the true art of the moon. Therefore, the sun god's connection with the sun, moon, and stars scripture was closer. The moon goddess's eyes were cold. She was still using the true art of the moon to communicate with the true meaning of the ancient jade book. Ling Xiao, I hope you can keep your promise and help me get the inheritance of the sun, moon, and stars scripture. The moon goddess's cold voice traveled into Ling Xiao's ears. Ling Xiao froze and smiled. Moon goddess, do you really believe that I can help you that much? Do you want me to help you kill the sun god? Intuition. My intuition tells me that you can definitely help me get the inheritance of the sun, moon, and stars scripture. As for killing the sun god, that's not necessary. We both have the true meaning of the sun, moon, and stars scripture to protect us. Even a noble plane cultivator can't kill us. Ling Xiao was speechless. A woman's intuition was unreasonably accurate. Okay, I'll try my best, Ling Xiao said, not giving a definite answer. Buzz. The ancient jade book in the void shone brilliantly. There seemed to be a trace of dazzling light shining between Ling Zhao's eyebrows. His powerful martial way primordial spirit spread out and probed toward the ancient jade book. Ling Zhao had never cultivated the sun, moon, and stars scripture himself. However, it was the inheritance left by Shang Guanming after all. It might contain Shang Guanming's primordial spirit imprint. If he could communicate with the primordial spirit imprint, he could help the moon goddess once. On the ancient jade book, mysterious ancient characters flashed like a vast galaxy. Each ancient character was a star, and countless stars were arranged to form a mysterious galaxy world, faintly describing some kind of truth of heaven and earth. The sun, moon, and stars scripture described how warriors could communicate with the power of the sun, moon, and stars to strengthen themselves and suppress their enemies. After Ling Zhao's primordial spirit touched the ancient jade book, it seemed to have come to a galaxy. You're courting death. The sun god's eyes turned cold. He could feel that Ling Zhao's primordial spirit was trying to touch the ancient jade book. He snorted coldly in his heart. The ancient jade book contained the true meaning of the sun, moon, and stars scripture. If someone who wasn't a disciple of the sun, moon, and stars scripture tried to touch it, they would definitely be devoured by the vast galaxy. Therefore, he was sure that Ling Zhao would die without a doubt. This is Shang Guanming's aura? Ling Zhao's primordial spirit shook. He actually found Shang Guanming's aura in the ancient jade book. It was in the center of the galaxy. Instantly, Ling Zhao's primordial spirit flew toward the center of the galaxy like a dazzling stream of light. There, a figure sat cross-legged with a terrifying aura. Shang Guanming, old friend, it's really you. Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of a smile. He was a little emotional and a little sad. In front of him was a tall and burly old man. His hair danced wildly in the wind. He looked very domineering, like the ruler of the galaxy, suppressing billions of worlds. However, his figure looked very illusory, as if he had fallen into a deep sleep. Every time he breathed, the galaxy around him would dim. It was very mysterious. However, when he felt Ling Zhao's primordial spirit approaching, the old man instantly opened his eyes, revealing a domineering and sharp light. "Who dares to disturb me?" The old voice rumbled, shaking the Star River world. "Old friend, don't you even recognize me?" Ling Zhao said slowly. The primordial spirit turned into a man in black. His eyebrows were like swords and his eyes were like stars. He seemed to be standing at the top of the sky, exuding an invincible aura that looked down on the world. Master?" The old man trembled. His eyes revealed a look of disbelief as he suddenly exclaimed. Chapter 379. The old man was Shang Guanming. Although Ling Zhao had reincarnated, he was still the soul of Sky Devourer Supreme. Therefore, he could recognize at a glance that the person in front of him was Sky Devourer Supreme, his master from 10,000 years ago. "Old friend, you're only left with the imprint of the primordial spirit? Your original body." Ling Zhao looked at Shang Guanming and sighed. He wanted to say something but stopped. He was afraid to hear from Shang Guanming that Shang Guanming was dead. "Master, I'm only left with this imprint of the primordial spirit. The catastrophe 10,000 years ago was too terrifying. I fought with the extraterrestrial demons and was severely injured. I could only leave the yin-yang altar and the celestial scripture here to wait for the fated one. I didn't expect to meet you here. Master, where did you go 10,000 years ago?" Shang Guanming laughed bitterly and was puzzled. Ling Zhao looked like he was only at the initial stage of condensing the power of the primordial spirit. He was at most in the noble plane. How did the Sky Devourer Supreme become so weak? Shang Guanming even thought that if Ling Zhao hadn't disappeared 10,000 years ago, the war god continent wouldn't have been defeated so quickly in that catastrophe. 10,000 years ago, I was framed by Sky Devourer Supreme. My primordial spirit fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up 10,000 years later, everything had changed, Ling Zhao said slowly and told Shang Guanming about his disappearance. Other than leaving out that he was reborn because of the wordless heavenly book, He told Shangguan Ming everything else. What? It's that despicable Sky Devourer Supreme? When Shangguan Ming heard that Ling Zhao's disappearance was due to a sneak attack by the Supreme True Dragon, he was instantly enraged. He was originally a big shot of the demonic path. He had a fiery temper and a strong murderous nature. After being enlightened by Ling Xiao, he followed Ling Xiao to conquer the world. He valued loyalty the most and despised people like Sky Devourer Supreme the most. Shangguan Ming, tell me what happened after I left. For example, where did Jinsei go? Where is Sky Devourer Supreme? What happened to the War God continent? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He wasn't as angry as before when he talked about Sky Devourer Supreme's betrayal. Now that he was reborn, as long as he was given enough time, he would definitely reach the heights of his previous life, or even surpass his previous life. He would break through to the divine spirit realm and become immortal. He could slowly settle the score with the true dragon. Master, I'm only a primordial spirit imprint now. Things from 10,000 years ago are too blurry. There are many things that I can't remember clearly. Not long after you went missing, the otherworldly demons descended and plunged the War God continent into misery and suffering. At that time, I heard that the true dragon was heavily injured and had been in seclusion. He didn't appear. The mistress and the other supremes led the heroes of the world to resist the extraterrestrial demons, and a bloody battle broke out. That calamity lasted for many years. In the end, although the extraterrestrial demons were defeated and a large number of experts were suppressed, it also caused many martial arts' sacred grounds to be annihilated. The longevity sect also suffered heavy losses. Mistress used her great magic power to suppress the strongest few great heavenly demon kings, but she was also heavily injured. After that, she left the longevity sect, saying that she was going to the Twin Life Mountain to wait for Mistress's return. Shangguan Ming said slowly. His voice was very low as he roughly recounted what happened after Ling Xiao left. When he heard that Jinsei was heavily injured, Ling Xiao's body trembled. His eyes revealed an incomparably worried and pained expression. In the end, when the three words Twin Life Mountain reached Ling Xiao's ears, he immediately became somewhat agitated. Twin Life Mountain, Jinsei, why are you so foolish? Ling Xiao's voice trembled as a crystalline light flickered in his eyes. Twin Life Mountain was the place where Ling Xiao and Jinsei met. It was also the place where they pledged their love for life. That mountain only had two peaks that were born together. They were named Ling Xiao Peak and Jinsei Peak by Jinsei. After the two of them advanced to the Supreme's realm, they even lived in seclusion there for a period of time. Jinsei once said that her marriage ceremony with Ling Xiao would be held at Twin Life Mountain. He could still remember her flower-like smile, her lithe figure dancing in the wind. On the best days of every day, it made Ling Xiao feel that the heavens loved him so much. However, Supremes could only live for 10,000 years. 10,000 years had passed. Was Twin Life Mountain still there? Was Jinsei still there? Seeing Ling Xiao fall into deep thought, Shangguan Ming sighed softly and said, Master, perhaps Mistress is still at Twin Life Mountain. Although Supremes can only live for 10,000 years, there are many supreme divine medicines in the world that can allow people to live another life. I believe Mistress said that she is waiting for you, and she must be waiting for you. Ling Xiao's body trembled, and a glimmer of light appeared in his eyes. He said, You are right. Many Supremes can rely on divine medicines to live another life. Although divine medicines are rare, Jinsei will definitely be able to find them. I will go to Twin Life Mountain to find her. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao suddenly felt relieved, and endless hope ignited in his heart. Master, the longevity secret realm was originally left behind by you and Mistress, so you must be very familiar with it. However, the longevity secret realm now is different from before. There are countless powerful extraterrestrial demons in it. Master's cultivation has not recovered, so you must be careful. Right below the yin-yang altar, there's a giant devil being suppressed. Shangguan Ming changed the topic and said slowly, There is a giant demon under the yin-yang altar? What is its cultivation? A glimmer of light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. The extraterrestrial demons were from 1 star to 9 star, and they corresponded to the meridian opening stage to the peak of the monarch realm. Above 9 star heavenly demons were heavenly demon generals. 1 star to 9 star heavenly demon generals corresponded to the first heaven of the venerable realm and the 9th heaven of the venerable realm. As for heavenly demon kings, they corresponded to titled supreme martial artists. Titled supremes had already reached the peak of the human Tao. They were extremely powerful, far surpassing ordinary supremes, and they were half a step away from the God realm. Legends said that above heavenly demon kings, there was even a heavenly demon emperor who was comparable to the God realm. However, that kind of existence was not something that ordinary people could understand. It is a 3-star heavenly demon general, but it has been suppressed by me for 10,000 years. Moreover, with the yin-yang altar devouring the energy in its body, it is probably only at the strength of a 7 or 8-star heavenly demon now. Once Master leaves, I will prepare to burn this remnant soul and completely exterminate it. A cold light flashed in Shangguan Ming's eyes, and killing intent overflowed. The 2 people below are from your Sun-Moon Star sect. Have you thought about who you want to pass the Sun-Moon Star scripture to? Ling Xiao was a little sad. If Shangguan Ming burned his remnant soul, he would completely disappear from the world. Therefore he changed the topic. The Sun-Moon Star scripture was passed down to me by Master. Back then, it was probably my disciple who founded the sect and wanted to pass down this inheritance. I will pass it down to whoever Master wants me to, Shangguan Ming said nonchalantly. Then pass it down to the Moon God. I don't like the Sun God. Chapter 380. Outside the ancient Jade Book. The Moon Goddess and the Sun Goddess used their own methods to fight for the inheritance of the Sun-Moon Star scripture. The Sun God's body shone with brilliant light. The sun surged and rose. It was as if a blazing world had appeared. He activated the true sun technique to the extreme. Golden runes filled the air like divine chains. They pulled the ancient Jade Book and flew slowly towards him. The Moon Goddess was also using the true moon technique. Moonlight shone around her as she used the power of the ancient Jade Book. However, the ancient Jade Book was already leaning towards the Sun Goddess. Although it was slow, it was still flying towards the Sun Goddess. Sister Moon Goddess, I told you that you can't beat me. Give up. The Sun Goddess said indifferently. Her eyes shone brightly as her black hair danced in the wind. She seemed to be in high spirits. He could feel that the ancient Jade Book was already within his reach. The Moon Goddess's eyes dimmed. She looked at Ling Xiao and saw that he was standing there in a daze. She sighed in her heart. Did I fail? She thought that Ling Xiao could help her get the inheritance. However, it seemed that Ling Xiao was powerless. No! The Moon Goddess's eyes suddenly shone. She realized that the ancient Jade Book was changing. Buzz. The ancient Jade Book shone brightly and began to vibrate. Golden ancient characters floated out of the ancient Jade Book like stars. They combined to form a mysterious scripture. From the scripture, there was a faint feeling of the bright sun, the vast moon, and the boundless starry sky. It seemed to contain the mysteries of the stars. It was very magical. The true meaning of the Sun-Moon Star scripture? The Moon Goddess and the Sun Goddess's eyes lit up. Their breathing became rapid. The Sun-Moon Star scripture is mine. Only I, the Sun Goddess, am worthy of this supreme technique. The Sun Goddess's eyes were filled with passion. She worked harder to push the true sun technique to get the inheritance. However, in the next moment, the Sun Goddess's expression changed. No, the Sun Goddess's eyes were filled with unwillingness and anger. The mysterious scripture buzzed and turned into a ray of light that disappeared between the Moon Goddess's eyebrows. It didn't stop at all. Rumble. A vast and mysterious aura spread out. It was as if billions of galaxies had descended. It was ancient and powerful. The Moon Goddess's eyes were filled with disbelief. But in the next moment, she was immersed in the true meaning of the scripture of stars and sun and moon. She was enveloped by the brilliant galaxies. The light of the sun was vast and boundless as it rose into the sky. A mysterious scene of the sun and the moon shining together appeared in the sky. The Milky Way was vast and dazzling. The moon goddess sat cross-legged in the center of the Milky Way. She was like a divine king of the Milky Way, inspiring awe in everyone's hearts. The sun god's eyes were red and filled with disbelief. He looked at the moon god with jealousy. That was the sun-moon star scripture, a supreme martial art that contained the mysteries of the great Tao. It was a supreme martial art that led directly to the supreme path, and it was snatched away by the moon goddess just like that. The sun god was unwilling to accept this. His aura became extremely berserk and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He was about to go crazy. What's going on? The inheritance of the sun-moon star scripture clearly belongs to me. Why did the moon goddess take it away at such a critical moment? Who is it that ruined my plans? I must crush his bones and scatter his ashes to vent my anger. The sun god's face was ferocious and his aura was extremely cold. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and his eyes fell on Ling Xiao. When he and the moon goddess were fighting for the sun-moon star scripture, only Ling Xiao's primordial spirit entered the ancient jade book. Strangely, Ling Xiao didn't die. You've ruined my plans time and time again. Ling Xiao, you deserve to die. The sun god's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. His body's blazing true chi of the sun exploded like a blazing sun. He punched at Ling Xiao. This punch contained violence, heat, and killing intent. It was as if the sun had exploded, violent and terrifying. Even the phoenix woman beside Ling Xiao couldn't help but change her expression. Sun god, what are you doing? The phoenix woman shouted. Red light gushed out from her body. A divine bird covered in flames flew out from her palm and charged at the sun god. The vermilion bird true technique? Your cultivation is still a little lacking. Today, Ling Xiao will definitely die. The sun god's voice was extremely cold. Even the phoenix woman couldn't make him waver. He punched out and collided with the divine bird. In the end, the blazing true fire of the sun exploded and shattered the divine bird. The monstrous fist hit the phoenix woman, causing her face to turn pale. She couldn't help but take a few steps back as her blood boiled. As expected of the great sun god. In the entire 8 Desolates region, perhaps only senior brother dragon sun can compete with you. The phoenix woman's eyes revealed a trace of shock. She saw that the sun god's cultivation had reached the peak of the 6th level of the sky-human realm. Clearly, he had a fortuitous encounter in the mystery territory of immortality. His cultivation was probably inferior to Dragon Sun. If you want to stand up for him, then die with him. The sun god stepped forward, his aura violent. His hair danced in the wind. His golden armor was dazzling and the true fire of the sun rose around him. It gave him an invincible aura that could crush everything. Seeing the phoenix woman still standing in front of Ling Xiao, the sun god's eyes burned with killing intent. He punched at the phoenix woman and Ling Xiao again. Just as the phoenix woman's eyes were filled with flames and she was ready to fight the sun god to the death, a clean and strong arm stopped her. Let me. Ling Xiao's primordial spirit power returned to his body. He looked at the sun god with a cold gaze. Even Ling Xiao didn't expect the sun god to react so quickly. After the moon god obtained the inheritance of the sun-moon star scripture, the sun god guessed that it was because of Ling Xiao. He immediately vented his anger on Ling Xiao. Facing the sun god's fist, Ling Xiao had no intention of dodging. He also punched out with a simple punch. A vast dragon's aura exploded. It was as if a golden dragon was roaring in the sky. Ling Xiao's arm was like the body of a real dragon. Dazzling golden light gathered on his fist and exploded. Boom! Heaven and earth shook. The ancient palace was almost shattered. The runes on the palace flickered rapidly. Unparalleled waves of qi swept out in all directions. Ling Xiao stood there without moving, while the sun god was pushed back a dozen steps by his punch. How is this possible? The sun god was shocked. At this moment, he felt that he wasn't facing a young man, but a real dragon in human form. His body was unparalleled. It was as if he could shatter heaven and earth. The sun god's arm was a little numb. drops of blood dripped down. It was a shocking sight. Chapter 381. Good, very good. Ling Xiao, it seems that I have underestimated you. The sun god's eyes were cold, and his body was glowing. A bright sun rose behind him, causing the void to tremble slightly. Your physical strength is indeed strong, but you will still die today. The sun god's voice was like thunder, exploding in the void. Accompanied by a blazing light, the sun god seemed to have merged with the surrounding heaven and earth as he slammed his palm toward Ling Xiao. Boom! The palm was vast and powerful. In an instant, the shadow of 9 suns appeared in the void. The 9 suns rotated, bringing with them a monstrous airwave as if they were going to burn the void. 9 suns' palm. The Phoenix Maiden had a grave expression on her face. Even she felt a sense of fatal danger when facing this palm. The 9 suns' palm was one of the most powerful martial arts of the Sun Moon Stars sect. Although it was only a heaven-level lower class, it could mobilize the power of the sun's primordial fire. The sun god had once used the 9 suns' palm to refine an elite of the celestial realm when he was in the Grandmaster realm. Kill! Facing the sun god's powerful attack, Ling Xiao's eyes were full of fighting spirit. The blood in his body seemed to be boiling, and the bright golden light was unparalleled, forming a golden vortex around him. Ling Xiao punched out, and the power of earth, water, wind, and fire filled the void as if it was going to recreate the chaos. In the endless world, a vast fist came across the void and hit the sun god. Bang! The sky shook, and the suns exploded. Endless primordial fire of the sun spread and enveloped Ling Xiao, wanting to burn him into nothingness. Ling Xiao jumped out of the palace, and the golden vortex around him swallowed the primordial fire of the sun. It could not hurt Ling Xiao at all. Where do you think you are going? The sun god's eyes were cold, and he hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. If it were not for Ling Xiao, he would have obtained the inheritance of the Sun Moon Stars scripture. Although he did not know how Ling Xiao did it did not affect his determination to kill Ling Xiao at this moment. Boom! The sun god flew across the sky, stepping on the sun. The 9 sun palm print exploded with unparalleled power, blasting towards Ling Xiao's back. Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly. He clenched his fist and charged forward. The dragon's might around him surged as he clashed with the sun god more than 10 times. The space inside the yin-yang altar began to tremble violently. The afterimages of Ling Xiao and the sun god were everywhere in the void. The sea of fire rose, the sun soared high in the sky, and the golden dragon swept in all directions. The battle between the two was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao used a secret teleportation technique and appeared behind the sun god in an instant. He punched out and a dragon-shaped fist imprint exploded. This was the power of the ancestral dragon's secret skill, containing unparalleled killing power. Clang! The sun god's golden armor glowed, and runes filled the air. He raised his arm to block, and the golden arm guard seemed to be burning with flames. After being hit by Ling Xiao's punch, the runes exploded, but a layer of light filled the air. Low-grade Dao artifact? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He did not expect the sun god's golden battle armor to be a low-grade Dao item. Battle armor-type Dao items were much more valuable than offensive Dao items. Furthermore, this golden battle armor was filled with ancient intent. It was not an ordinary item. Therefore, when the sun god activated the power of the golden battle armor, he was not afraid of Ling Xiao's physical body at all. Ling Xiao, you cannot break through the defense of the adamantine battle armor. Today, you will die without a doubt. The sun god's eyes were cold. The golden battle armor exploded with dazzling power, and the defensive runes on it were very strong. Ling Xiao could not break through the defense at all. Relying on the power of a Dao item, what kind of ability is that? Ling Xiao smiled indifferently. The battle intent in his eyes seemed to be burning. Light flashed under his feet, and he circled to the side of the sun god and punched towards the sun god's neck. There was no defense of the adamantine battle armor there. A Dao item is also a kind of strength. Ling Xiao, you ruin my plan. Even if I turn you into ashes, it will not be enough to appease my hatred. The sun god's aura became extremely violent. He did not dodge Ling Xiao's punch. His palm was sparkling and filled with blazing flames. It turned into an extremely sharp blade light and slashed towards Ling Xiao's head. Solar Flaming Blade. Another heaven-level martial art. Even if Ling Xiao's punch hit the sun god's neck, the sun god would be able to split Ling Xiao in half. Ling Xiao's eyes were overflowing with sharpness. There seemed to be a dragon's roar erupting from the fist print. The light became even more dazzling. He did not dodge at all. Boom! Just as Ling Xiao's fist was about to land on the sun god's neck, the adamantine battle armor flashed and a dazzling rune appeared in front of Ling Xiao to block. The unparalleled fist print landed and the rune exploded. The sun god only shook a little, but he was not affected at all. However, the solar flaming blade had already landed. Ling Xiao died. The sun god's eyes were incomparably cold. The solar flaming blade contained an aura that could destroy everything. The flames burned the sky and instantly enveloped Ling Xiao's body. It turned out that the sun god was fearless from the beginning and deliberately showed an opening to Ling Xiao. Poof! Ling Xiao's body was instantly cut into pieces. However, in the next moment, the sun god's expression changed because the Ling Xiao in front of him was only an afterimage. The sun god did not even think and slashed back with his blade. Boom! Ling Xiao sidestepped the blade and directly grabbed the sun god's arm. His vast physical strength exploded and the sun god was unable to break free. Ling Xiao directly swung the sun god's arm and ruthlessly smashed it down. Boom! The entire floating divine mountain shook violently. A deep pit appeared on the ground in an instant. The mountain rocks shattered and turned into dust. Bang! 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 Ling Xiao's terrifying physical strength erupted. He swung Sun God Warden and smashed it on the floating mountain. In an instant he smashed it over 100 times. Countless rocks were blasted apart. This violent scene made the Phoenix Maiden secretly click her tongue. She never thought that Ling Xiao would have such a violent side. He was like a violent demon ape. Bastard, you deserve to die. The Sun God's Vajra armor had strong defensive power, but under Ling Xiao's violent attacks, the Sun God was still injured. His eyes were full of humiliation. Being smashed by Ling Xiao made him look nothing like the Sun God. If the Sun Moon Star Sect's disciples saw this, their eyes would pop out of their sockets. He was a proud son of God. When had he ever been humiliated like this? In addition, Ling Xiao's heaven-devouring true qi spat out a golden light. The light flowed and absorbed the Sun God's power. The Sun God's soul was about to leave his body. Ling Xiao had practiced a demonic devouring skill, but was he not afraid of the heterogeneous true qi clashing and going mad? Boom! The Sun God's body suddenly exploded with a terrifying aura. It was as if he had surpassed the limits of the celestial realm and started to dominate the world. Chapter 382. That flame was red and gold in color. Mysterious runes filled the air as they flickered in the void. It was as if they were going to set the void on fire. The Grand Sun Primordial Flame? Ling Xiao's entire body trembled, and an incomparably grave expression appeared in his eyes. This flame was one of the most powerful heavenly fires, the Grand Sun Primordial Flame. Legend had it that there was nothing it couldn't burn. The blazing Sun Primordial Flame was also a heavenly fire, but it was much weaker than the Grand Sun Primordial Flame. Ling Xiao didn't expect the Sun God to have the Grand Sun Primordial Flame. This kind of flame couldn't be tamed by ordinary people. Even a noble realm cultivator would be burned to ashes in an instant. Those who could tame the Grand Sun Primordial Flame were people with great luck and luck. For example, the Sun God could at least unleash the power of a noble realm cultivator with the Grand Sun Primordial Flame. This was the Sun God's real trump card. Ling Xiao, you forced me to do this. If you can see my Grand Sun Primordial Flame, even if you die, it will be worth it. The Sun God stood in the air, the red and gold Grand Sun Primordial Flame surging around him. It was as if there were many blazing suns in the sky, making him look like a sun god of war. His eyes were cold and filled with murderous intent as he stared at Ling Xiao. The grand sun primordial flame is indeed powerful, but with your current level, how long can you maintain this state? Ling Xiao smiled coldly. He could see that the sun god had activated some kind of potential to be able to activate the grand sun primordial flame. After all, the sun god was only in the celestial realm. To activate such a powerful heavenly fire, he had to pay a great price. Ling Xiao could see that the sun god's face was unusually red. The sun god's eyes flashed and he said coldly, "It's enough to kill you." Kaboom! The grand sun primordial flame swept across the sky like a sea of fire, causing the air to tremble violently. Countless three-legged golden crows flew out of the sea, surrounded by runes and red flames. The sun burns the sky, the golden crows destroy the world, shouted the sun god. Suddenly, an endless sea of fire rose up from behind the sun god. Three-legged golden crows covered the sky and covered the earth. They were filled with murderous intent as they rushed towards Ling Xiao. The three-legged golden crow was an ancient divine beast. Legend had it that it was the spirit of the sun and the spirit of the flame. It was born together with the sun. In ancient times, there were 10 suns in the sky, burning the heavens and destroying the earth. It was the three-legged golden crow's mischief. As the terrifying heat hit, the surrounding rocks began to melt silently, turning into a pool of boiling lava. This was the most dangerous attack Ling Xiao had ever faced. However, Ling Xiao's eyes were still as calm as ever. Golden light surged around him as he leaped into the air and threw a punch at the sea of fire. The fist radiance was blazing, and 6 mysterious worlds appeared behind Ling Xiao. Golden flames also spread out from Ling Xiao's body, containing ripples that could devour everything. The heaven-devouring fire versus the grand sun primordial fire. Ling Xiao's sky-devouring fire was formed from the sky-devouring secret skill that he had cultivated. It was not much weaker than the heavenly fire. Once the 6 paths of reincarnation was used, no one could compete with it. This was the most powerful attack that Ling Xiao had ever unleashed since his rebirth. The vast fist print almost made the sky explode. Kaboom! The world was covered in white. Countless rocks shattered, and the floating mountain shook violently. Divine light gushed out, and the scene was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao was drowned in the solar primordial fire. Countless three-legged golden crows roared and flapped their wings, as if they wanted to burn everything into nothingness. The phoenix girl, the old goat, and the elder who was half a step away from the noble plane all stopped. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. This fluctuation had surpassed the limit of the celestial realm. It was comparable to the combat strength of the noble plane. The sun god was a well-known peerless talent in the 8 Baron region, the top genius of the Sun Moon clan. He had the solar primordial fire, a peerless heavenly fire, and could unleash the combat strength of the noble plane. Although it was still terrifying, it was understandable. But what about Ling Xiao? He was just a young man in the Grandmaster realm. How could he have so many terrifying moves? What was that golden flame? Their hearts were filled with doubts. It was as if they were in a dream. Only the old goat's eyes revealed a trace of emotion and doubt. At this moment, Ling Xiao's figure seemed to have merged with the insufferably arrogant and peerless supreme being in his memory. If he was still here and knew that he had a disciple like you, he would be very happy. The old goat was filled with emotions as he whispered to himself. The endless divine light dissipated, and Ling Xiao and the sun god both flew back hundreds of meters. The sun god's hair was disheveled, and his face was pale. There was blood at the corner of his mouth, and his adamantine armor dimmed. However, his eyes were filled with sharpness and murderous intent. Ling Xiao, who was opposite him, had been completely enveloped by the solar primordial fire. He was being burned and refined. Ling Xiao, let's see how you can survive. The sun god laughed. His eyes were cold. Killing Ling Xiao seemed to have become an obsession in his heart. However, the next moment, the sun god seemed to have choked. His laughter stopped abruptly, and his eyes were filled with disbelief and anger. Ling Xiao, who was enveloped by the solar primordial fire, showed no signs of being refined. On the other hand, The grand sun primordial fire was being devoured and refined by Ling Xiao. At this moment, Ling Xiao was standing in the middle of an endless sea of fire. Golden light shone around him as though he had turned into a golden whirlpool, devouring all the flames. It was as if a mysterious transformation had taken place. After devouring the primordial fire of the sun, the primordial fire in Ling Xiao's body broke through some kind of barrier and exploded with a loud bang. Golden fire lotuses bloomed in the void. The mysterious symbol of a fir tree looked dazzling. Ling Xiao stood up in the sea of fire, and immediately, a towering aura spread out. This is impossible. How can you resist the solar primordial fire? The sun god's face was extremely ugly and a little ferocious. At the same time, a feeling that was beyond his control spread in his heart. At this moment, Ling Xiao had become extremely dangerous. If the solar primordial fire exploded at full force, even a powerful Dao instrument would be destroyed in an instant, let alone a body of flesh and blood. Senior brother Sun God, you are no match for Ling Xiao. Admit defeat, and I can beg him to spare your life. An ethereal sigh sounded. Unknowingly, the moon goddess stepped on a rainbow bridge and slowly walked over like a fairy. She was dressed in a light gauze, and her figure was graceful. Enveloped in the pure white moonlight, her eyes were brighter than the stars as she slowly walked to Ling Xiao's side. At this moment, the moon goddess's cultivation did not seem to have changed, but she gave the sun god an extremely dangerous feeling. Admit defeat? There are only sun gods who fight to the death. There are no sun gods who admit defeat. After seeing the moon goddess appear, the sun god's eyes twitched. He knew that the moon goddess had finished digesting the inheritance of the solar scripture. Instantly, his heart ached, and his hatred for Ling Xiao increased. If you want to die, I can fulfill your wish. Chapter 383. Rumble. At this moment, the void suddenly cracked open. Black mist filled the air, and demonic light surged. It was as if the world was about to collapse. Oh no! Shangguan Ming can't hold on any longer. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. In the space of the yin-yang altar, a 3-star heavenly demon general was suppressed. After Shang Guanming's primordial spirit imprint gave the lunar star sutra to the moon goddess, he bid farewell to Ling Xiao and prepared to kill the heavenly demon general. But now, it seemed that the heavenly demon general's strength was beyond Shang Guanming's imagination. Boom! The sky completely shattered, and a huge figure shrouded in darkness appeared in the void. Demonic qi filled the sky around him, and he emitted an endless wave of darkness and evil. Shangguan Ming stood in front of him, surrounded by the sun, moon, and stars, but his figure was very weak. He was like a fire in the wind, about to be extinguished at any time. After sensing the heavenly demon general's aura, Ling Xiao's heart sank. The heavenly demon general had the strength of a 9-star heavenly demon. A 9-star heavenly demon was at the peak of the monarch realm, a peerless expert comparable to a half-step supreme being. It wasn't something that Shangguan Ming could deal with. Hurry up and leave. I'll stop him. Shang Guanming shouted at the crowd. The aura of his whole body became incomparably hot in an instant. It was as if he was about to burn up. That's ancestral Master Shangguan? The moon god and the sun god trembled, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. The Shangguan Ming in the void was majestic and powerful. His face was resolute, and his aura was wild. He looked exactly like the Shangguan Ming statue in the sect. Didn't ancestral Master Shangguan Ming die 10,000 years ago? Why was he here? The moon god and the sun god were puzzled. The huge heavenly demon general in the void made them feel as if they had fallen into an icy abyss. They began to tremble. It was too terrifying. Compared to the heavenly demon general, even the Black Dragon King, the Nirvana King, and the others combined were far inferior. Want to leave? All of you will die. Pa. The heavenly demon general let out a wild laugh as the demonic qi around him rumbled and shook the sky. He had a pair of blood-red eyes that hung in the void like a blood moon. Everyone felt as if they were frozen when he looked at them. Whoosh, whoosh. Monstrous demonic qi fell from the sky like black divine arrows, containing the power to pierce through everything. The half-noble realm elder was the first to be hit. Before he could react, his body was pierced through and he exploded in the air. Both the old goat and Ling Zhao's expressions changed. The old goat was surrounded by a golden vortex, knocking down the black divine arrows and refining them with the sky-devouring secret technique. Ling Zhao used the power of the wordless book to envelop the moon goddess. Faint ripples spread out, melting away the black arrows. Only the sun god, faced with the sky full of arrows, revealed a look of extreme terror. Boom! However, at that moment, a mysterious black and white divine light spread out from between the sun god's eyebrows. A mysterious figure walked out, wrapped around the sun god, and flew into the distance. Although the black divine arrows were terrifying, they were blocked by the black and white divine light and did not kill the sun god. The Lord of Yin Yang? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he felt a familiar aura. The Lord of Yin Yang had left a powerful primordial spirit brand between the sun god's eyebrows, saving the sun god at the critical moment. The sun god's trump cards were endless. Ling Zhao felt it was a pity that he could not kill the sun god. Shangguan Ming, you suppressed me for 10,000 years, but your original body disappeared long ago. How dare you fight me with a mere primordial spirit brand? The heavenly demon general's voice was cold. Along with his voice, a monstrous demonic light rose and turned into a huge demonic sword, slashing toward Shangguan Ming. My original body died a worthy death, but you will also die here. This is your destiny. Shangguan Ming's voice was faint, but there was a sense of decisiveness in it. Master, I can no longer accompany you. Today I have killed the leader of the heavenly demons. I hope you can reach the peak again. Even if I die, I will be very happy. Shang Guanming looked at Ling Zhao with a smile and transmitted his voice to Ling Zhao. His eyes were filled with longing. Boom! The sky shook violently, and the surroundings were dazzling. It was as if a boundary of yin and yang had risen. Endless rivers of stars intertwined, enveloping this part of the world. Shangguan Ming stretched out a finger, and a wave of yin and yang divine light enveloped Ling Zhao and the others. They turned into a dazzling stream of light and flew into the distance. Master, this is the longevity fruit that Shangguan cultivated using the extraterrestrial demons as nourishment. I only hope that Master will have a boundless lifespan and ascend to godhood, becoming an eternal emperor. Shangguan can be at ease. Shangguan Ming's voice entered Ling Zhao's mind and became fainter and fainter. Finally, it disappeared with a huge explosion. Shangguan Ming. A trace of pain appeared in Ling Zhao's eyes. He clenched his fists so tightly that his nails dug into his palms. However, Ling Zhao knew that Shangguan Ming had already died 10,000 years ago. This was only a soul brand that would dissipate sooner or later. There was nothing Ling Zhao could do. He could only watch as Shangguan Ming burned his soul brand and launched a shocking attack. Boom! With a monstrous explosion and unwilling roars, the monstrous demonic might fell silent. Ling Zhao and the others were also sent to an unknown region by Shangguan Ming. The moon goddess and the phoenix maiden felt like they were in a dream. They still had lingering fears. When they faced the heavenly demon general, they had thought that they would die without a doubt. But they had never imagined that they would survive in the end. Ancestral Master Shangguan is still alive? The sun goddess asked softly, her eyes shining with a strange light. He's dead. He died in the great calamity 10,000 years ago. Now, all that's left is a soul brand. However, he had already burned his soul brand and triggered the endless killing power in the yin-yang altar. He perished together with the heavenly demon general. The old goat sighed. There was a trace of loneliness in his eyes. Those acquaintances from 10,000 years ago, whether they were enemies or friends, had all left. Today, they had only seen Shangguan Ming for a brief moment, but they were separated forever. Brat, are you hiding something from me? Why do I feel that Shangguan Ming's eyes are strange when he looks at you? The old goat seemed to have thought of something and stared at Ling Zhao. Although the old goat didn't hear Shangguan Ming's voice transmission to Ling Zhao, he could see the respect and longing in Shangguan Ming's eyes. Ling Zhao was stunned. This old goat's eyes were really cunning. He smiled bitterly and said, "Shengguan Ming is my master's old friend. It's normal for him to be reluctant and emotional. What can I hide from you?" "Really?" The old goat still didn't believe it, but he didn't feel that anything was wrong. "What kind of spirit fruit is this?" Phoenix Girl suddenly exclaimed and attracted everyone's attention. They immediately looked towards Phoenix Girl's direction. They were in a valley shrouded in mist. In the center of the valley was an extremely strange ancient tree. The ancient tree was blood red. Even its branches and leaves were crimson like blood. It looked very old and strong. Its leaves were as translucent as blood jade, exuding a lustrous light. On the ancient tree were dozens of fist-sized spirit fruits. Blood chi lingered around them, and their fragrance assailed their nostrils. They contained a mysterious Tao intent. "This is the legendary longevity fruit?" The moon goddess's eyes flashed as if she had thought of something. Her voice trembled slightly. "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.